didn't chase him. Lu Han's heart sank, and his mind moved again, looking at Lao Ai who was approaching quickly. If I beat Lao Ai who is good at strength with speed, Xiao I will treat him. I won't be so superstitious anymore, will it? Futon, wind style, sleepy roll ascension. Lu Han actually used hand seal to perform ninjutsu. White Fang, who was watching the battle, but Xiao I didn't think anything was wrong, because he didn't come here for a long time, and he didn't know how Lu Han and Lao Ai fought this afternoon. Futon, wind style, can form a certain restraint on Lao Ai's ability. He is not afraid of fire or thunder, but in the face of wind, if he avoids, he will stay away from Lu Han. The S-level forbidden technique performed in Susanoo's state moves forward, and Lao Ai can't do it. Lao Ai retreated to avoid the attack, trying to bypass the attack range of Futon, wind style, and attack Lu Han from the side. Lu Han seized the opportunity and quickly disarmed Susanoo, unable to calm down a little chakra, and immediately forcibly transformed Raiden, thunder-style chakra, but saw his whole body shake, the airflow surged, and the thunder light entered Raiden thunder-style chakra mode. Two people, all in Raiden thunder-style chakra mode. However, Lao Ai's Raiden thunder-style chakra mode is LV6, while Lu Han's is only LV3. Distance, White Fang frowned in surprise. He didn't understand why Lu Han avoided his strengths and promoted his weaknesses. The Master's ability not long ago was more powerful than Susanoo. Lao Ai stopped, looked at Lu Han with an angry face, and shouted, Han Guang. What do you mean? Look down on me. Chakra mode, this is Lao Ai's housekeeping skills. He has been practicing this technique for 30 or 40 years. Mention that Hangguang has just mastered Raiden thunder-style chakra mode. Even if Hangguang has practiced Raiden thunder-style chakra mode for 10 years, Lao Ai is confident that he can beat it with one hand. He was right, he could indeed be blasted with one hand. But the point is, gotta hit it. Have fun. I use Susanoo to fight you. Even if we fight for another day and night, I am afraid it will be difficult to distinguish the winner. Don't worry, I use Raiden thunder-style chakra mode, not to mock you. Lu Han shrugged at Lao Ai, pulled out the Man of Shock, and thunder and lightning immediately surrounded the blade. You're courting death. Lao Ai roared, sprinting to Lu Han in an instant. Chapter 0709_Speed vs Strength. Lao Ai can be said to be completely runaway. Lu Han's use of Raiden thunder-style chakra mode is regarded by him as an unlimited provocation. Changliu burst. Lao Ai's fists and elbows met, with the tip of his elbow in front, and bombarded Lu Han's head. Lu Han dodged and hid, but suddenly came to Lao Ai's back. The knife light splashed out like a waterfall, and suddenly brought a burst of thunder. Lao Ai stumbled, then turned around. His hands and feet were like shadows, facing Lu Han's knife light boom. Power is really terrifying. Lu Han's heart shook. This was the first time he used his own strength to resist Lao Ai's attack. Although he said that the faster the knife, the heavier the power, and the Raiden thunder-style chakra mode blessing, but it still gave Lu Han a feeling that he was about to be unable to resist. Fortunately, Lu Han used the Sword of Astonishment, which is considered an artifact, and there was no possibility of being interrupted by Lao Ai. If Lu Han fought Lao Ai with fists and feet, he would have been beaten to death. Why is his knife speed so fast? The power is so heavy. Lao Ai was also extremely shocked. Over the years, no ninja has ever broken his defense, and no ninja will attack him with a knife at all, because everyone knows that a knife can't hurt Lao Ai at all, which makes Lao Ai despise the branch of swordsmanship. How about the speed of the knife? You can't break my defense, no matter how fast you are. But Lu Han refreshed his knowledge of swordsmanship. Lao Ai used his fists and feet to fight Lu Han's saber technique, and at most he was able to withstand one or two of the attacks, and the rest of the attacks were all cut on him. You know, Lu Han can make hundreds or thousands of knives per second, of which 700 or 800 knives must successfully hit Lao Ai. 1 knives is no problem, 10 knives are no problem, and 100 knives are not a problem, but there are thousands of them. What about thousands of knives? Fortunately, Lu Han's sword light was not enough to hit a single point, otherwise Lao Ai's defense would be broken. But even so, Lao Ai was still under great pressure, and he had to concentrate more chakra in front of him to form a sufficient defense. Both of them realized how terrible the other was. Lao Ai was violent as always. And Lu Han was also at the peak of melee combat. There are two modes of Lu Han's melee insane state. The first one is when he is in a state of blood rage, his speed and fighting consciousness are increased sharply, and his skill in shooting is stronger. The second one is the current Raiden, Thunder style check. Carrot mode, explosive speed and power. In the two states, the speed can be basically the same, the difference is that the rage is heavy on skills, and the Raiden Thunder style is heavy. It can be said that each has its own merits. However, in comparison, the state of anger and blood is stronger. Lu Han relied on this state at the beginning, and the Hanzo who killed him didn't even dare to fight in close combat. He ran and ran. However, Lu Han couldn't deal with Lao Ai with angry blood at all. First, because the blood rage state did not increase the strength enough, Lu Han had no chance to break through Lao Ai's defense. The second is that he can't perform any ninjutsu in the state of angry blood, which is too dangerous. If he is hit by Lao Ai, Lu Han will be sobbing. Can you use the strange power of taijutsu to form blessings? Lu Han suddenly changed his mind and gathered chakra again. He felt some difficulties because he was currently transforming Raiden, Thunder style chakra, and the strange power of taijutsu needed is without attribute chakra. If you want to use both abilities at the same time, you must transform both chakras at the same time. Difficult, but only difficult. Lu Han still did it, but he felt that the speed of chakra consumption had quadrupled. What's going on? Lu Han was startled. Is it because of the conflict between the two abilities, or the chakra conflict? Lu Han couldn't figure out the current situation, but he didn't think much about it, because he didn't know what to do now. You need to worry about how much chakra. Lao Ai's chakra will not be more than him. As Lu Han used his physique magic, Lao Ai's pressure increased greatly. Raiden Thunder style Thunder Plow Hot Knife. Lao Ai launched a ninja technique and rushed forward fiercely, even directly breaking Lu Han's waterfall knife light. Hu Fan's big palm hit Lu Han's neck in the thunder and lightning circle. Lu Han retreated violently. At his current peak speed, he surpassed Lao Ai. When the hand of thunder light was still a foot away from his neck, he retreated and went around Lao Ai's side. The output chakra was not as good as the loss. Raiden Thunder style, chakra mode and physical magic double blessing, thunder and rage. This knife has the power to break through the mature Susanoo, not losing to Lao Ai's thunder abuse level Chio dance. Damn it. Lao Ai felt that the blow was invincible, otherwise he would be injured, and suddenly his body shrank, and then he leaned back and ejected into the air. Boom _ hit the ground. The uneven rock suddenly burst, and the terrifying power was poured into the ground. After the explosion, the ground tore a crack nearly 100 meters long, and the widest point was 3 meters. Hangguang. Ha 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 ha, I underestimated you. Raiden Thunder style chakra mode can exert such power under your hands, I am very relieved. Lao Ai actually laughed, sounding like a bell. Lu Han couldn't help turning Byakugan to Lao Ai. Is this a credit to the Raiden Thunder style chakra pattern? This is obviously lousy strong, right? Lao Su and Faceless fought thousands of times to the death before they practiced today's swordsmanship. Does it have anything to do with Raiden Thunder style chakra? Lao Ai and Xiao Ai have a problem, they always value their own skills more. Lu Han really wanted to ask him, do you want a face? After Lu Han changed his fighting style, he still had the same fighting power as Lao Ai, which surprised Lao Ai, and at the same time he was more fighting spirit. If you lose to Susanoo, Lao Ai can still accept it. After all, there is a generation of madman Uchiha Madara who has precedent, and everyone knows that Susanoo is strong, but if he loses in the Raiden Thunder style chakra mode, he loses to his own skills. It was still a hit. I will never let this happen. The two entered into a fast-paced life and death fight. From dusk to night, from night to late night, one relies on strength and defense, and the other relies on speed to display power from time to time. Killing is inseparable. However, Both of them have a steel scale in their hearts, and they both know that it is Lao Ai who is at a disadvantage. Why? Because he is always beaten. I don't know how many knives he has received, but he has never hit Lu Han. Lu Han naturally couldn't let him fight, otherwise he would be disabled. Hangguang, you forced me. Lao Ai suddenly shouted angrily, pressing the fingers of his right hand together. Hell Assault 4 books consistent. Coming. Lao Ai's strongest spear. Chapter 0710 The strongest spear. Lao Ai has two stunts, known as the strongest shield and the strongest spear. The strongest shield is that Lao Ai casts Raiden Thunder style chakra mode to ultimate, forming a Raiden Thunder style armor defense on the body surface, which can be called the ability closest to the defense. The strongest spear is Lao Ai's profound truth ninjutsu in Raiden Thunder style chakra mode. This is the real profound truth. Therefore, Lao Ai's spear is stronger than his shield, which is also his weakness. How to prevent it? At this moment, Lu Han was completely focused. He knew very well that if he made a slight mistake, he might be killed by Lao Ai's subordinates. Even if he had a subverter's body, it would be useless. 4 fingers, you should be on guard. Lao Ai was approaching, and Lu Han made a decision. Because Lao Ai was performing ninjutsu, its speed was not normal, it was faster, and it was no longer similar to Lu Han. In this case, unless Lu Han used the Haraishin technique, it would be difficult to dodge. What does it mean to hide? Lao Ai fights, Lu Han hides, then this battle can be fought for a lifetime, and no one can do anything about it. Come on, Lu Han shouted loudly. For the first time, he held the sword of astonishment with both hands. The breath of his whole body rose to ultimate, and he slashed furiously. Boom _ Lu Han's knife collided with Lao Ai's 4 fingers, and an extremely terrifying shock wave swept across the Valley of End, and the two flew out at the same time. Stop it! Lu Han bit Kiba and muttered in his heart. He felt his arms go numb. In fact, he didn't have to. It was unwise to have power with old Abby. Lao Ai dragged his feet on the ground, plowed out 2 ravines on the ground, and stopped after retreating for nearly 100 meters. He looked a little shocked. Although the confrontation between the two was dead, Lu Han was useless. I used it. He didn't know that Lu Han also blessed the strange power of taijutsu in Raiden Thunder style chakra mode. Excellent skill. Lao Ai praised. Hangguang, I have to admit, you are one of the most powerful enemies I have encountered in my life, and the youngest among them. What a pity, you are going to die today, and I already have some can't bear to start. There's a lot of nonsense. Lu Han replied quietly. Humph. Lao Ai's face darkened. Young man, you don't bow your head until death is imminent. You really have the backbone. Can you stop talking nonsense? Lu Han raised his eyebrows. Okay. Lao Ai drank and ran wild again. Hell Assault 3 books. 4 fingers become 3 fingers. The less fingers are used, the more terrifying the power of Hell Stab is. This time, Lao Ai did not directly charge Lu Han, but hit the ground with his hand. The terrifying force hit the ground and suddenly exploded several times. The unclear rock thorns attacked Lu Han. Lu Han jumped to dodge. Lao Ai saw the opportunity, turned into blue lightning, and appeared in front of Lu Han in an instant. His elbow was greatly raised back, and then he hit 3 fingers. This time, Lu Han didn't use the knife, but threw out his left hand quickly, and the light shone. LV9 Ultimate Rasengan vs Hell thrust 3 through the hand. Bang bang rumbling. The wind is howling and roaring. Lu Han's LV9 Ultimate Rasengan is not weak, but extremely powerful. Rasengan is a top-level A-level single-attack ninjutsu, and has reached the LV9 level, which breaks the upper limit of this world, and its power is even close to S-level single-target ninjutsu. Peak. Reason why Lu Han didn't use Rasengan to hit Lao Ai before was mainly because the Rasengan's attack area was larger than that of a knife, the size of a slap, which was not as targeted as the extremely narrow area of the blade. Easier to defend. Therefore, for Lao Ai's defense, the knife is better to use. If it is against Lao Ai's big move, it is still more domineering from LV9 Ultimate Rasengan. However, Lu Han was still blasted out. Old Ai is the same. This time, the two have opened a distance of nearly 300 meters. Fortunately, both of them have amazing eyesight, and they can lock each other by relying on their breath. Ha 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 ha, cold light, is it uncomfortable? Old Ai Hong's bell-like low voice came from afar. I don't know if you have lost your hand. If you voluntarily admit defeat, I will spare your life. Are you injured? Lu Han asked suddenly, with a quick tone. Lao Ai's whisper stopped abruptly. Although Lu Han didn't speak loudly, he could hear it clearly. Are you injured? Lu Han asked again, as if he had discovered a big secret. ... Distance. Xiao Ai leaned against the stone and stared at her bloodshot eyes, still watching with great interest. After watching the battle for 5 or 6 hours in a row, he also felt tired, mainly because the distance was still too far, so he had to keep his eyes wide open. Stare, otherwise, you will definitely be negligent and fail to see some of the fighting scenes. Okay, nice work. Hit. Why did it stop again? Really, just put a finger on it. Little Abby was all excited and wanted to jump out, but didn't dare. Because the distance was too far, he just couldn't hear anything except Lao Ai's laughter. He wanted to get closer many times, but he gave up after thinking about it, because there was no barrier in front of him, and he was afraid of being seen by his old eye. ... Lao Ai's face gradually darkened. He stared at Lu Han, and asked slowly, how do you know? Because you're talking too much nonsense. Lu Han replied, actually, I'm very puzzled. We've been fighting for so long, but we haven't had enough chakra. Why did you suddenly take out the strongest attack? I was very impatient, and then, after our 2 confrontations, you would talk nonsense with me, and even say such childish things as making me admit defeat. You are injured, right? That's why you are so eager to resolve the battle, and you need time to live the injury. Is the internal injury serious? Lao Ai didn't say anything, but the breath in his whole body became more violent. Lu Han guessed right. Lao Ai was indeed injured, an invisible internal injury. Lu Han slashed him too many times, stacking the impact again and again. Although he did not break his defense, the activated body defense was much weaker than the surface defense. The impact caused him to have internal injuries, which started a little bit at first, and it has been getting worse for several hours now, which has affected his fighting state. He knew that if he continued to fight with Han Guang for a long time, the injury in his body would worsen faster. Infernal thrusts, profound meanings, all in one hand. Lao Ai no longer kept it, and launched his strongest blow on Lu Han. Chapter 0711 Win or Lose. Only he himself knew how serious Lao Ai's injury was. In fact, it wasn't necessarily serious. At least he didn't vomit blood and his breath was stable. But since Lao Ai wanted to solve the battle so impatiently, he naturally had his own concerns. Lu Han couldn't break his Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode, but once an injury appeared in his body, it would be equivalent to breaking his skills, and the injury would rapidly aggravate as he continued to resist attacks. Lu Han could speculate that Sarutobi Hiruzen hit Lao Ai seriously, and it should be the same. After all, Lao Ai's ability is relatively simple. If Sarutobi Hiruzen could break Lao Ai's defense, Lao Ai would have died at the hands of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen is also a level 70 bronze boss. He is not necessarily stronger than Lao Ai. The reason why Lao Ai has been frustrated under Sarutobi Hiruzen is naturally because Sarutobi Hiruzen is not alone. Super Ninja Beast, comparable to the 10,000 snakes, big toads, etc., can also become a stick, so that Sarutobi Hiruzen has the melee ability of the table. If I dodge Lao Ai's blow and fight him in a war of attrition, he will be defeated by me in a few hours. Lu Han watched Lao Ai rush towards him. His thoughts were like lightning. I have already secured the victory, and if you have the art of Horaitian, you will be invincible. Quote. Then. Now, it's over. The breath on Lu Han's body quickly weakened, the thunder light disappeared, and the Raiden Thunder style chakra mode was released. At the same time, Luhan's hands shone brightly, and the double LV9 Ultimate Rasengan appeared. Until now, Luhan still didn't dare to care. He released the Raiden Thunder style chakra mode so as not to affect the Rasengan's performance, but with only one Rasengan, Luhan could not guarantee success, so he chose to use two Rasengans, and the power of the Rasengan was not as good as the loss. To the limit. Call _. Luhan ran wild, turned into a glimpse and rushed towards Lao Ai. Lao Ai's aura has been elevated to ultimate. He wanted to gradually increase the power of the Hell Thrust, starting with 4 fingers, then 3 fingers, 2 fingers, 1 finger. But Luhan had already seen his problem, so he directly skipped the second one, and displayed the strongest one. The power of this move is enough to instantly defeat Susanoo. Come on. Yeah. Both of them roared. The distance was getting closer and closer. Lao Ai raised his right elbow, pointed his fingertips at Luhan. Luhan raised his hands, because Luhan urged Rasengan to ultimate, and even had there as an unstable trend. Rumbling _. At this moment, the wind whistled and brought up smoke and dust, and the burst of thunderlight illuminated the valley of the end light day. Because the light was too dazzling, White Fang and Xiao Ai, who were staring at the battle, were all stimulated to close their eyes. Thunder is roaring. The world seemed to be shaken. But after an instant, everything disappeared, the light on Lao Ai disappeared, and the light on Luhan disappeared, and the valley of the end fell into darkness. At night, there was not enough light, but the dark clouds blocked the waning moon. Quiet. Silent. What's wrong? Xiao Ai opened her eyes again and stared at it. He couldn't even feel the breath of people, but he could still vaguely see the two of them, standing opposite each other, their figures in the night very blurry below. What's the matter? Xiao Ai stood up all of a sudden and wanted to take a closer look. He felt that the winner had been decided, but there was no movement, very strange. White Fang flickered beside Xiao Ai, raised his hand and pressed Xiao Ai's shoulder. Don't go there, White Fang said. He stopped Xiao Ai. In fact, he didn't know what the situation was now, but he could guess that either the winner had been decided, or the winner had not yet been decided, but the key to the decision had come. ... Tick, tick, tick. The blood was dripping on the rocky ground, seeping into the cracks in the rock, and soon it changed from a small piece to a large pool. Lao Ai looked down at his chest and stared in disbelief. The terrifying attack caused a half-meter-long laceration on his body. He leaned diagonally, and the flesh and blood rolled. Lao Ai could even see his ribs and internal organs. Lao Ai's strongest shield has been broken. The destruction was extremely thorough, but the attack that broke his strongest shield did not come from Luhan, but from himself, his strongest spear. Infernal Thrust one-shot, smashed the strongest Raiden Thunder-style armor. Why is this happening? Lao Ai was in a trance. He couldn't accept this fiasco. He had never failed so completely. He vaguely remembered that the attack launched by Han Guang hit him on the wrist, forcing his one manual hand to change the direction of the attack and hit him. This is Lao Ai's weakness, a weakness that only he knows. He didn't understand. Why did Han Guang know? Of course Luhan knew that because there were related plots in the original book. Lao Ai's weakness was that his spear was stronger than his shield, and his spear and shield were too close. The night was thick, and Lao Ai's face was pale. He knew he was going to die. Even if this kind of injury would not kill him directly, he would not have the strength to fight Luhan again. I think it's over. Luhan took out his knife and said coldly. Ha! Lao Ai raised his head and smiled miserably at Luhan, his eyes full of sorrow at the end of the hero. Luhan stared at Lao Ai, pulled a knife flower, and retracted the sword of Jinghong into the scabbard, then raised his hand to block his right eye, while the left eye Mangekyo spun rapidly, pupil technique, time and space tide. Retreat. Lao Ai's strength is too strong. It can be said to be a super huge energy body, making this energy body go back to the past. Luhan even has a feeling that the strength of the pupil strength is not enough, so he has to increase the chakra output, short in less than 10 seconds, the amount of chakra output by Lu Han was actually more than the amount of chakra consumed by fighting with Lao Ai for a few hours at night. Lao Ai returned to the past, the wounds on his body healed quickly, and even the blood that dripped on the ground flew back into his body. Lao Ai's face became very exciting. He didn't understand why Lu Han did this, and he didn't know what ability Lu Han was using, but he could feel that his injury was recovering in an incredible way. "Why didn't you kill me?" Lao Ai asked. Chapter 0712 Kumogakure Retreat _ Lu Han restored Lao Ai to the state he was in before he launched One Piece, and there was no further change, because Lao Ai's internal injury was caused by continuous fighting for more than 10 hours, and he also consumed a lot of chakra. If Lu Han sending him back more than 10 hours ago, I'm afraid he can't do it even if he runs out of chakra. Hearing Lao Ai's question, Lu Han put down his hand covering his right eye and said, "Killing you will do me no good. If you die, Kumogakure will become Konoha's life and death enemy. Xiao Ai will lose his father, Kumogakure you will lose the leader, and in this world, there will be one less powerful person with clear grievances and loyalty. Your death will not make Konoha better, but it will make the situation more difficult. I don't know how many Konoha ninjas will die in Kumogakure in my hands. Exchange your life for the lives of hundreds of Konoha ninjas. I think it's worth it. You don't deserve to die." Over the years, thousands of ninjas have died at the hands of Lu Han. Lao Ai can be said to be the first person who clearly wants to kill Lu Han. Lu Han has the opportunity to fight back, but he did not kill. Lao Ai was a little lost, and he couldn't keep up with Lu Han's thinking. The high-sounding reason, if he changed Lao Ai, he would never think about it so much. "Go back." Lu Han turned around and walked away, his voice getting further and further along with his footsteps. There is no winner or loser in today's battle. Let's fight another day." Lu Han's voice echoed in the Valley of the End. This was for Xiao Ai. After thinking about it repeatedly, Lu Han still felt that it would be better not to let the myth in Xiao Ai's heart be shattered. It is only right that my son worships Laozi. Moreover, after today, Lu Han will also declare to the outside world that the battle with Lao Ai's End Valley is a draw. Konoha and Kumogakure be facilitated. The prerequisite for the alliance is equality. It cannot be said that who is a vassal. It is impossible for one party to be too strong. Therefore, Lu Han must create equality as much as possible. "It's a draw." Xiao Ai stood on the boulder, stunned, and then muttered angrily, "How come it was a draw? My father didn't beat Han Guang. It must be Han Guang cheating. Shameless Han Guang." Lu Han didn't go to meet Xiao Ai, and left the Valley of the End with the technique of Hiraishin. White Fang locked Lu Han's breath, knowing that Lu Han left immediately and disappeared beside Xiao Ai. Soon, Konoha's ninjas all evacuated, and Xiao Ai also secretly left. He didn't dare to show his face. Only Lao Ai was left in the Valley of the End. He didn't seem to have recovered, and stood alone in the Valley of the End for a long time. "Wake up," until the dark clouds drifted away and the waning moon was in the sky. Hangguang, you have such a heart and mind at a young age. If you don't treat Kumogakure as an enemy, then Lao Ai murmured, dodging and disappearing into the Valley of the End. A few days later, news about the battle between Hangguang and Ai's End Valley spread throughout Konoha. Because Konoha took the initiative to release the news, scouts from other forces could know the result without investigating. The final outcome of the battle of life and death between the two most powerful men in the world, no winner or loser. This result has caused many people to feel pity. How come no one died? From the point of view of other forces, the best outcome of the Battle of End Valley is to kill one person, no matter who dies, because as long as someone dies, Konoha and Kumogakure will never die, and other forces can fish in troubled waters. Kumogakure has retreated. Although it was said to the outside world that there was no winner or loser, it was a tie, and we should fight another day, but Lao Ai knew that he had lost, so according to the agreement, 5 days after he returned to the camp, he announced his retreat, and the Kurigakure Corps officially started to leave the fire. The border of the country, returned to the country of thunder. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 10 days have passed since the Battle of the Valley of the End. This morning, Konoha high-level meeting. The third meeting room. Luhan sat in the main seat, and there were more than 20 people including Kaharu Yuditane, Homura Mitokado, Inazuka Lei, Hyuga Huyang, Hitaki Tsukumo, Uchiha Leiyang, etc. The main topics of this meeting were discussions on the situation in the Land of Rain and an alliance with Iwagakure. Tsuchikage Onoki, the third generation, had agreed to form an alliance, but because of the Kumogakure and Kurigakure army, and the fact that the decisive battle in the valley was about to end, Iwagakure's attitude became blurred. Iwagakure clearly wanted to fish in troubled waters. Because whether Luhan is dead or I is dead, it is good for them. When Luhan is dead, Kumogakure will definitely break into the country of fire. Iwagakure can choose to form an alliance with Konoha to fight against the Kumogakure village, or he can choose to withdraw from the war. Machine rest. And if I died, Konoha may not fight back against Kumogakure, and Iwagakure may or may not form an alliance with Konoha, all in Onoki's mind. It's all calculations. At present, Onoki has only verbally agreed to form an alliance. Because the document has not been signed, the two sides have not yet formally formed an alliance. Kumogakure has retreated, and I don't know when it will make a comeback. Kaharu Yuditane said with a blank face, holding a pen in his hand. Lord Hengwang and Reikage have no difference, according to Reikage's temper. I am afraid that he will not give up, so I propose, send a powerful person to lead the mission to Iwagakure village to formally finalize the alliance, and if Tsuchikage agrees, sign the document immediately. No one in Konoha knew that Luhan won Reikage, because Luhan didn't say. One is afraid of leaking the news, and the other is afraid of trouble. After all, he can't prove that he defeated Lao Ai, because he cured Lao Ai's trauma. Lao Ai is still alive and well. In this case, Luhan insisted that he won, which might arouse suspicion. Even if some people believed him, there would definitely be some people who questioned why he didn't kill Ai. Therefore, what Luhan said to the village was a tie. That's enough. Because Sarutobi Hiruzen was level with Ai at the beginning, and time again, Luhan was no worse than Sarutobi Hiruzen, and he could be regarded as one of the chips to become Hokage. Onoki is a capricious villain. Hearing Kaharu Yuditane talking about forming an alliance, Uchiha Leiyang immediately objected. Before we Konoha were under a lot of pressure. Iwagakure verbally agreed to form an alliance, but he didn't act, and he didn't send troops to contain Kumogakure. He had no sincerity at all. Quote. Report. An Anbu ninja broke into the conference room and interrupted Uchiha Leiyang's words. The Iwagakure mission is coming, and it is still 30 miles from the village entrance. Chapter 0713_whimsical. The Iwagakure mission came very suddenly, and no one was sent to inform it before. In terms of time, considering the distance between Iwagakure village and Konoha village, I am afraid. Iwagakure village dispatched a mission immediately after getting the news of the result of the duel between Luhan and Lao Ai. Okay. Kaharu Yuditane stood up to help the case. Iwagakure must have sent someone to discuss the alliance, which is different from the bad intentions when the Kumogakure mission came. Since Iwagakure has agreed to form an alliance, we should show sincerity. Just bring someone to meet you. Quote. Kaharu Yuditane has been very active recently. Since Luhan handed over the establishment of silver to her, she is equivalent to holding real power, which seems to have inspired her utilitarian heart. This time, I am so eager to promote the official alliance between Konoha and Iwagakure, I am afraid it is a merit. Mind. It's not urgent. As Kaharu Yuditane was about to leave, Luhan said lightly. Lord Hengwang. Kaharu Yuditane immediately looked at Luhan and said eagerly, this matter must be dealt with immediately, the Iwagakure mission is almost at the entrance of the village. Sit down. Luhan glanced at Kaharu Yuditane, and immediately raised his hand to the Anbu ninja who reported the letter. Let Hyuga Heian lead someone to receive him. Yes. The Anbu ninja took the lead and hurried away. Kaharu Yuditane sat down helplessly. His face was very ugly. She also saw Luhan's attitude. Obviously Iwagakure was swaying before, which made Lu Han feel bad. I will deal with the matter of receiving the Iwagakure mission after the meeting. Now we will continue the meeting. Lu Han knocked on the table and glanced at White Fang. Tell me about the information about the Rain Country. White Fang got up and said, the information sent back 3 days ago. Sunagakure and Omegakure used troops at the same time, mobilized nearly 10,000 ninjas to advance to the southwest. The second main battle army was forced to retreat, and asked the first and fourth main battle army for help. The third main battle corps was attacked by the Sunagakure puppet troops, and the battle was deadlocked. The situation in the Land of Rain is not very optimistic. Although Konoha has secured Kumogakure, and Kumogakure has also secured Kurigakure, Konoha still has to play 1 against 2. The battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain is the territory of Omegakure village and has home field advantage, and because there are no other enemies in Sunagakure village, the Kingdom of Wind does not compete with the Country of Fire borders, and without the fear of being attacked by the enemy, the village of Sunagakure almost came out of its nest. It is worth mentioning that during this period of time, the S Division implemented the guerrilla warfare plan in the Land of Wind, and indeed achieved some results, but without the mass base, it was difficult for Hokage Taishuo to cause too much damage to Sunagakure. Guerrilla warfare is a method of warfare that requires a long period of use to highlight its effects. The time is still too short. Hokage Taishuo has spent more than a month in the country of people, and spent most of his time evading encirclement and suppression. Sunagakure village has formed a strong team, and with the cooperation of ninjas from various strongholds, they continue to pursue the guerrilla team led by Hokage Taishuo. After Hokage Sakumo finished speaking, Lu Han signaled that he could speak at will, and Kaharu Udatane immediately rushed to speak. Iwagakure is the key, as long as you form an alliance with Iwagakure. Let them send troops into the country of Rain, and you can immediately reverse Konoha's disadvantage in the country of Rain. Kaharu Udatane glanced at everyone, and then glanced at Lu Han again. That's right. Hyuga Huyang followed, but I was afraid that Iwagakure would not agree to send troops. At the beginning of this ninja war, Iwagakure had troops stationed in the country of Rain, but after years of wars, let Iwagakure realize that the Land of Rain is a quagmire, plus the threat that Kumogakure brings to them. I guess, Iwagakure is allied with us, at most, to help us contain Kumogakure, which is most in line with their etiquette. After all, Kumogakure will take the initiative hit them, and Sunagakure Omegakure won't. I agree with Huyang. Homura Mitokado adjusted his glasses, then looked at Kaharu Udatane and shook his head. Actually, we don't just have to think about allies. Inuzuka said tearfully, for us Konoha, the biggest problem now is that there are too many enemies. Sunagakure, Omegakure, Kumogakure, Kurigakure. Kurigakure still has multiple legions, and the strength not to be underestimated. It is our potential enemy. Quote. Inuzuka is in charge of defense and always thinks about who will fight Konoha, so that's why he said this. Opinions, and there was no reason to discuss it. The attitude of Kumogakure and Iwagakure was unclear. Kaharu Udatane quarreled with Uchiha Leiyang again, because Kaharu Udatane said something that could benefit Iwagakure, and was scolded by Uchiha Leiyang. Cough, it's alright. Lu Han coughed lightly. The chaotic venue immediately fell silent. Actually, we still have a way to go. Lu Han sat up straighter and tapped his fingers on the table. We formed an alliance with Iwagakure, but Iwagakure may not be willing to help us. They are concerned about Kumogakure, and we are also suffering. The threat of Kumogakure, for fear of them coming back, so we can actually form an alliance with Kumogakure. It solves a lot of problems. Quote. As soon as Lu Han's voice fell, the silence of the needle in the conference room could be heard. Kaharu Udatane, Uchiha Leiyang, etc. all stared at Lu Han. Inuzuka Lei, Hyuga Huyang, Homura Mitokado, etc., all frowning. Suddenly, there were many strange expressions in the conference room. The atmosphere is weird. Is there something wrong? Lu Han asked while scanning the crowd. I'm afraid it's very difficult, right? Kaharu Udatane said. In fact, she wanted to point out Lu Han's nose and scolded. Wonderful, but Lu Han is no longer the Lu Han he used to be. As the current leader of Konoha, Kaharu Udatain is naturally impossible. I'm rude to Lu Han in public. It's impossible. Inuzuka is very disrespectful. He is such a character. 3 generations of Reikage is a very stubborn person. What he believes will never be easily changed. Since he regards Konoha as an enemy, he will not maybe suddenly agreeing to an alliance. Kumogakure is more powerful than us at Konoha from a strategic point of view, and if we bring up an alliance, 9 times out of 10 they will ask for money again. Quote. Lord Lei is right, Hyuga Huyang also said, with a rather cautious look. Once, before Lord Hokage disappeared, over the past few years, Lord Hokage fought against Reikage, the 3rd generation. In fact, Lord Hokage also hoping to make an alliance with Kumogakure, but since the duel has never been decided, I has never agreed. Quote. Chapter 0714_Pigmate. More than 20 people, except for the most important ones, did not speak, and it was not their turn to speak, because their attitudes on this matter were basically the same, that is, they were not optimistic, impossible. Even Uchiha Leiyang hesitated to speak. Kumogakure village is a martial art ninja village. They are belligerent, since the 2nd generation Hokage Senju Tobarama, the 2nd generation of Lord Hokage Senju Tobarama, after an accident happened with them, Kumogakure has not been with other people. The forces have formed an alliance. Moreover, the country of Thunder has a special geographical location, and we, Konoha, are too busy to take care of ourselves and cannot threaten them, and the country of Thunder has a special geographical location. The meeting room fell silent again. Except for the 2 stuffy gourds who didn't speak, everything else that should be said, naturally shut up. The atmosphere is a little weird, or a little embarrassing. Because no one at the top of Konoha agrees with Lu Han's proposal. This is embarrassing. Lu Han is not embarrassed, they are all embarrassed for Lu Han. Actually, it's not completely impossible. Homura Mitokado, one of the suffocating gourds, habitually held up his glasses. The lenses flashed brightly, as long as Lord Hengguang invites Reikage to fight and defeat him. It is possible to form an alliance. Silent. What Homura Mitokado said was all nonsense that no one could answer. He only had a duel 10 days ago, and it was precisely because Hongguang didn't win that he gave Konoha such a great sense of threat. What would he say if he won? Lu Han looked at the group of ninjas around the conference table, and focused his attention on the other white fang, the gourd. He didn't respond, didn't say a word, and didn't seem to agree. He doesn't know. Lu Han was a little puzzled. Whether White Fang knew that Lu Han had defeated Lao Ai, Lu Han didn't know, and he never asked him, because White Fang was the strictest and best kept secret, so Lu Han never worried that White Fang would mess up. Say. It's settled, I'll send someone to Kumogakure village to discuss the alliance. Lu Han decided. No, Lord Hengguang, think twice. Kaharu Udatain jumped out again to sing the opposite. Lu Han is a little impatient. This Kaharu Udatain is just looking for trouble, can it be successful or not? What's the problem? Lu Han asked with a glance. Let's not talk about whether we can form an alliance, in fact, it's okay to try it. Kaharu Udatain said solemnly, but Lord Hengguang must understand that once Iwagakure knows that we are trying to form an alliance with Kumogakure, Iwagakure will inevitably turn against us, and then we will fight with us. Kumogakure failed to form an alliance and lost Iwagakure as an ally. Makes sense. Not only other people nodded, Lu Han also nodded. This is a point worth noting, but it was neglected before. Then, Lu Han pondered for a while. I sent people to Kumogakure and made a secret agreement with them. Although the 3rd generation of Reikage is scheming, he is bright and upright, and he would not deliberately release news if he wants to. Lord Hengguang. Kaharu Udatain clapped the table and stood up suddenly. She couldn't bear it any longer. You know you can't do anything, why do you insist on doing it? You don't fight for your close ally, but you fight for Kumogakure. What exactly do you want to do? I've made up my mind. Lu Han's voice was heavy. This matter must be tried. You, Kaharu Udatain's hair fluttered in anger, and she used her peripheral vision to pay attention to the expressions of everyone present, and she couldn't help but feel a little disheartened. No more voting. Kaharu Udatane could see that in this matter, although others were not optimistic about Hengguang's proposal, they basically would not object to Hengguang's decision to send someone to try it. Hengguang's control over Konoha's core has been so strong. Kaharu Udatane alone to strongly disagree. Today's meeting is here for the time being. Luhan ignored Kaharu Udatane and glanced at everyone. If you have no other questions, then leave. I'm going to meet the Iwagakure mission. After speaking, Luhan stood up first. Wait a minute, Lord Hengguang. Uchiha Leiyang said suddenly. Oh, Luhan looked at Uchiha Leiyang in surprise, and the other ninjas who were about to get up also looked at him, and then they all sat down again. What's your proposal? Luhan sat down and asked. Cough cough. Uchiha Leiyang cleared his throat, got up very formally, looked around the crowd, and spoke in a cadence. I think a country can't be without a name, and a village can't be without a shadow. Uchiha Leiyang's current words are actually very smooth. During a total war, if there is no absolute leader, there will be a problem of chaotic management and conflicting orders. The so-called upside and downside effect. If the core decision-making level of Konoha cannot enforce the order and prohibition, the following will be even more unbearable. As soon as Uchiha Leiyang opened his mouth, the expressions of everyone present changed, including Luhan. Many people looked at Luhan and guessed that Uchiha Leiyang raised this sensitive question because of Hengguang's inspiration. Luhan really wanted to shout that he was wrong. It wasn't me, it wasn't me. Luhan even had the heart to strangle Uchiha and Leiyang. He was a pig teammate. Therefore, I propose that Hokage be elected. Uchiha Leiyang finally said loudly. Over the years, Lord Hengguang has poured blood for Konoha, and has made countless merits. Lord Hengguang is also powerful. He once killed 3 generations of Kazekage, alone. He broke the record of Kurigakure village and was ranked the strongest, and during the period when Lord Hengguang was in power, Konoha gradually got out of the quagmire. Nominate Lord Hengguang as the only candidate for the seat of Hokage. After Uchiha Leiyang finished speaking, everyone turned to look at Hengguang and swiped in unison. Cough. Luhan coughed lightly and said lightly, I am the party involved, I can't express my position on this matter, you say. No, Kaharu Udatane immediately objected. Mr. Hokage's life or death is uncertain, it's too early to elect Hokage. Yes, Homura Mitokado also said, we don't even know whether Lord Hokage is alive or dead. Besides, there is no management chaos in the village at present. The election of Hokage is very important and should not be taken lightly. While the others were speaking, Luhan kept looking at Uchiha Leiyang with cold eyes. He really wanted to ask Uchiha Leiyang, are you a pig? Chapter 0715-Old Purple. Luhan never thought of taking the position of Hokage at this time, because the timing was not right. Being Hokage means he will have absolute power. Although Luhan has a lot of power now, at the very least, he can't even replace the commander of the main battle legion at will. Many important decisions must be supported by a certain number of votes before they can be implemented. However, Luhan was very satisfied with the current situation. He already holds great power, so why is there a need for quick success? And Uchiha Leiyang's assertion of bringing this up without authorization is likely to backfire. What is the current situation? For Konoha to form an alliance with the outside world. Konoha is not stable enough. The alliance has not yet been established, the front line of the Kingdom of Rain is at a disadvantage, and Konoha has 2 potential enemies, Kumogakure and Kurigakure. In this case, it is only whimsical to choose Hokage. How to get the leaders of the main battle legions to give up their frontline command and come back to participate in the election. Sarutobi Hiruzen has been missing for less than 2 months, is there such a hurry? Luhan is indeed already very prestige, but how much has Sarutobi Hiruzen's influence in Konoha village diminished? The timing is not right, and if you mention it rashly, it will definitely arouse suspicion. Luhan originally planned that after the alliance with Kumogakure and Iwagakure was finalized, Konoha situation would be completely improved, and then we will bring it up again. At that time, Lu Han will be the hero who saves Konoha and embarrassed. Lu Han's ability in force, management, diplomacy, etc. will be widely recognized, and will not allow others to question. But now that you mention it, can you get absolute support? Uchiha Leiyang is a pig teammate, a real pig. Are you blind? Even if you don't think about it so much that your head is hot, are you blind? Didn't you just see me clashing with Kaharu Utatane? Don't you see that no one else approves of my proposal? Is your Mangekyo Sharingan a decoration? Lu Leng coldly stared at Uchiha Leiyang. Uchiha Leiyang looked a little hairy. He could see that Lu Han was in a wrong mood, and he was a little confused. Wrong. The current situation is tense, and it is indeed not suitable to hold elections. Inuzuka said in tears. Stop looking at other people's opinions. Even with the support of Hatake Sakumo and Hyuga, who didn't speak, there is no advantage in numbers. Kaharu Utatane, Homura Mitokado, and Inuzuka tears are too heavy. In fact, Lu Han can use might to ascend to the position of Hokage, but Konoha there are bound to be cracks inside. If Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly came back, what would happen to Lu Han? It is because of these considerations that Lu Han needs absolute support, so that even if Sarutobi Hiruzen comes back, he will only be the third-generation Hokage who has abdicated. Okay. Lu Han didn't wait for the next one to speak, and said directly, we will discuss this matter when there is a suitable opportunity in the future, and the meeting will be dismissed. Hokage Building. After some preparations, Lu Han, White Fang and Kaharu Utatane met with the Iwagakure mission. On the ground, White Fang was the captain of Anbu and used to make up the front. He didn't need to speak when he stood aside, and brought Kaharu Utatane with him. Although Han had conflicts with Kaharu Utatane before, Kaharu Utatane was full of firepower when it came to negotiation. It was her first time to meet with the Iwagakure mission. And, Kaharu Utatane was desperate to broker an alliance. Lu Han also didn't want to give up Iwagakure as an ally. This time, Iwagakure envoy to Konoha, a total of 18 people came, and the scale is not large. This also shows the eagerness of Iwagakure village. If you want to get to Konoha quickly, naturally you have to have fewer people. It is slow and easy to be detected by the enemy. Lu Han understood that Iwagakure was eager to form an alliance at the moment, because after Kumogakure retreated, it would pose a great threat to Iwagakure. No one could say whether Lao I would send troops again, and who would send troops to fight again. There were a total of 5 people who entered the hall to negotiate with Lu Han, the first and second messengers, plus 3 guards called followers. The envoy led by the Iwagakure mission is a young man in his 20s. He looks no older than White Fang, and is estimated to be comparable to Tsunade, Jiraiya and others. Yuhi has Yuhi beard and is short, maybe only 1 meter 5. Tall, but handsome in appearance, wearing a purple robe with extraordinary bearing. With such a young man as the messenger, negotiating such an important matter as forming an alliance is naturally not an ordinary person. Very unusual. Lu Han knew him. Jinchuriki column force of the Iwagakure village in the land of the earth, purple. It's old purple. The Chan Oil character in the original work received a box lunch as soon as he appeared. In the original work, Laozi was about 50 years old when he died, but in this world, in Konoha's 35 years, he was in his 20s, and he had not yet betrayed Iwagakure. Become a wandering monk. The village of Iwagakure even sent out Jinchuiki column forces, which shows that they attach great importance to this alliance. Yoden, lava style. If he hadn't been restrained by Suiten, water style, it is estimated that he would not have easily lost to Kisame Hoshigaki. Lu Han was very curious about Laozi's strength at this time, but since this guy is not Yuhi's name, Lu Han had no way of knowing Akatsuki. Lord Hengguang, I finally see you. You are as young as the legends say. Laozi, who saw Lu Han, was excited. I wanted to visit you in Konoha for a long time, but I never had the chance. Make the task. Ahaha, I didn't expect Tsuchikage to send the force of Jinchuriki column. It really surprised me, Lu Han said with a smile. The atmosphere at the beginning of the negotiation was very harmonious, because it was a matter of negotiating an alliance. The two sides were naturally polite to each other, and there was no smell of gunpowder. Lord Hengguang, you really answered that sentence, a hero as a boy. Laozi was a little too enthusiastic. Not only Kaharu Udatane was surprised, but also several Iwagakure ninjas who accompanied Laozi, all with strange expressions on their faces. Damn it, this guy doesn't worship me, right? Lu Han was shocked. Although Laozi is only a small character, he is the Jinchuriki column force of the four-tailed person. The four-tailed Sun Wukong is on him, and he will betray Iwagakure in the future. Lu Han's mind couldn't help but come alive. Laozi betrayed Iwagakure not because of any conflict, but because of disagreement with Onoki's philosophy. The alliance talks have officially started. Laozi put away the excited look and became serious. As usual, he first talked about the general situation of the world, and then went to the main topic. This time I am here, with a handwritten document from Lord Tsuchikage, and the matter of forming an alliance it will be finalized immediately. If you have no doubts, I can represent Tsuchikage Lord and formally form an alliance with you immediately. Lord Tsuchikage hopes that you can mobilize your forces to strike the land of thunder together. Chapter 0716-Get Over Here. Laozi is not only the messenger of Iwagakure village, but also represents the third generation of Tsuchikage Onoki. From Laozi's remarks, Lu Han felt that Onoki had already planned to send troops to invade the land of thunder. The hatred between Iwagakure and Kumogakure is too deep. They have fierce confrontation before and after the two ninja world wars. It can be said that it is the hatred of generations. If there is no such hatred, Laowai and 10,000 Iwagakure ninjas fought bloody for 3 days and 3 nights, and finally died of exhaustion in the original book. Okay. Before Lu Han said anything, Kaharu Udatane spoke impatiently first. We also have this intention. The alliance should be completed as soon as possible, that is. Kaharu Udatane paused again and glanced at Lu Han. What doubts does Lord Kaharu Udatane have? Laozi asked. You said, Tsuchikage wants us to send troops to attack the country of thunder with us, but I'm afraid not. Kaharu Udatane said, at present, we Konoha have been unable to deploy more troops, and all the major Konoha legions have been invested in the country of rain, Tsuchikage. Conditions, we may not be able to agree to it. Quote. This way. Laozi pondered for a while, then raised his head and said, Lord Tsuchikage has also explained to me, considering your current situation, you can refrain from troops, but you need to form a certain restraint on Kumogakure. Kumogakure the village once invaded the country of our soil and looted it, and we Iwagakure will avenge this revenge. Quote. Lord Hengguang. Laozi put his eyes on Lu Han again. With your strength, you can deter Kumogakure with just a little movement. You won't object to this condition, will you? Lu Han could see that Laozi didn't expect Konoha to send troops at all. This is negotiation skill. Laozi made an excessive request first, but Konoha refused to agree, and he made another not excessive request. Should he agree? No, Lu Han refused. The old purple complexion changed. This alliance should be the most reasonable arrangement under the premise of mutual benefit. Lu Han said with a blank face, you should be clear that Konoha has formed an alliance with you in the hope that you can help us solve the country of rain. The danger of the battlefield, likewise, we will solve the danger posed by the village of Kumogakure for you. Quote. Lord Hengguang means. Laozi's face was already very ugly. He knew what Lu Han was going to say. Therefore, in order to facilitate this alliance, we must all make concessions. Lu Han said, I can contain and deter Kumogakure village for you, and you need to send troops to the country of rain to fight with us against the Sunagakure and Omegakure coalition forces. Lord Hengguang, if this is the case, how can you guarantee that Kumogakure village will not take the opportunity to attack the land of earth? Laozi was a little excited. I can't guarantee it, Lu Han said, but once this happens, I will stop it. But this way, we Laozi began to explain the facts to Lu Han, analyze the pros and cons. Akatsuki moved it with reason and emotion, over and over again, probably meaning that Iwagakure suffered a loss. If allied in this way, Konoha will surely be out of the current crisis, but Iwagakure will be threatened by two enemies. Lu Han's attitude was tough, so he formed an alliance in this way, otherwise it would be fine. Kaharu Udatane never interrupted, because what Lu Han said was in Konoha's best interest. Kaharu Udatane just objected to Lu Han's attempt to form an alliance with Kumogakure, because if Iwagakure knew about that, Iwagakure would definitely turn his face, and Iwagakure must send troops to the country of rain. Kaharu Udatane also strongly agrees with this. The two sides quarreled for nearly an hour, and finally Lu Han issued an expulsion order. Since you can't decide this matter, then go back and ask Tsuchikage and see what he has to say. Laozi and the others left in disappointment. Naturally, they did not leave Konoha, but the Hokage building. Under the escort of Anbu Ninja, they returned to their temporary residence. Laozi decided to stay for the time being and sent a message to Iwagakure village. The matter of forming an alliance is very important. Of course, it does not mean giving up. Before Konoha faced the pressure brought by Kumogakure and Kurigakure, he took the initiative to seek an alliance with Iwagakure, but now it is different. Iwagakure faced the threat brought by Kumogakure. Konoha allies. Just 3 days later, the Iwagakure ninja who went back to spread the news rushed back to the village of Iwagakure, explained the situation to Tsuchikage, the third generation, and presented a secret letter from Laozi. After reading the letter, Onoki frowned, and immediately called a high-level meeting to discuss the matter. In fact, it is better for Iwagakure to send troops to the country of rain than to be beaten by Kumogakure. Because the main army of Konoha is in the country of rain, the Konoha army and Iwagakure army are fighting against the Sunagakure and Omegakure allied forces, and the overall strength is stronger in Muin. If Iwagakure is to face Kumogakure alone, Iwagakure's pressure is too great. Then again, what if Kumogakure doesn't fight the land of soil? Are they going to fight Konoha? Or, what if Kumogakure took advantage of the emptiness to enter after Kumogakure sent troops to the land of rain? Situation was so complicated that anything could happen, so it was difficult for Onoki to make a decision. The land of thunder, Kumogakure village. On the hanging square built by relying on the mountain wall, Lao-I was walking like a dragon, punching and kicking frequently. He practiced punching and kicking without using chakra. Although he lost to Lu Han that day, Lao-I did not languish because of it. It is the kind of person who will not admit defeat, and will never bow his head. What's more, Lao-I didn't feel that he really lost to Han Guang, because he was defeated by his own attack and was tricked by Han Guang. There are many people around the square, including Kumogakure Anbu's guards, as well as some powerful masters and strong men. Watching Lao-I's practice is one of their daily activities. Many talented ninjas will watch Lao-I's practice after training. All comprehension. Xiao-I walked out of the stone gate of the cave and saw Lao-I at a glance. She immediately shrank her neck, leaned against the stone wall, and walked furtively towards the distant stone stairs. Bastard, stop! Lao-I shouted angrily when he saw Xiao-I. Xiao-I froze in place. What's the matter with you, kid? Why are you always avoiding me lately? Lao-I glared at his son and beckoned. Come here, I haven't seen you cultivating recently, you'll be lazy if you don't supervise you, come. Let's make a gesture, to see if you have grown. Oops, my stomach is uncomfortable. Xiao-I clutched her stomach and wanted to run. Come here, Lao-I shouted with a black face. Chapter 0717_step back. Lao-I knows too well what his son is. From Xiao-I's guilty expression, Lao-I can tell that Xiao-I must be hiding from him because of something, and naturally he has a bad face. Isn't this kid a waste of practice and shameless? It is estimated that, there is a good show to watch. But then again, he was injured and recuperated for nearly a month. Even if his strength has declined, it is reasonable. Many ninjas watching the fun in the square made jokes. They were basically ninjas about the same age as Lao-I. They were not afraid of Xiao Ai. Even if Xiao Ai was stronger than most of them now, they were watching Xiao Ai grow up. The big one is Xiao Ai's uncle. Seeing Lao Su's anger, Xiao Ai knew that she could not escape today, so she walked slowly to the middle of the square. Hearing his uncles making fun of them, Xiao Ai didn't dare to refute except for his aggrieved expression. They are all elders, and they are all old brothers who accompanied Lao Ai from birth to death for decades. Xiao Ai is half short in front of them no matter how strong he is. Come on, don't be dawdling, why are you acting like a woman? When Lao Ai saw Xiao Ai walking slowly, he reprimanded him again. Forget it, he might really have a stomachache, ha ha ha. A sturdy ninja who was older than Lao Ai said. It sounded like he was helping Xiao Ai, but the last laugh, it's more like making fun of Xiao Ai's acting too fake. Xiao Ai couldn't help staring at the man and whispered, you talk too much. You're good at it, right? Where are you still dawdling? Lao Ai said angrily, suddenly burst into flames, turned into lightning and rushed towards Xiao Ai. Hu Shan's big palm grabbed Xiao Ai's collar. Xiao Ai was scared and dodged, and at the same time, his whole body was shocked, and lightning flashed around him. Lao Ai had already rushed in front of Xiao Ai, and he held Xiao Ai down, but saw that Xiao Ai's body was full of thunder, and in an instant, he saw him and pulled away from Lao Ai. Lao Ai was surprised and stopped. Although he didn't show his full strength, he just grabbed at will, but he could still feel the change in Xiao Ai's speed. Lao Ai stared at Xiao Ai, then he laughed again. Not bad, ha ha ha, as expected of my son, he has grown. Lao Ai became complacent and looked around, as if to say, how is my son? Isn't my son amazing? Oops, the little guy has improved again. I've made progress, why are you still guilty? Sure enough, he is indeed the super genius of Kumogakure village once in 100 years. There was a rush of flattery in the square. Come on, let me check it out. Lao Ai waved to Xiao Ai again, don't hide it. Father, I'm really uncomfortable. Xiao Ai was still looking for a reason. He was really afraid that Lao Ai would find out his change. Come on, don't linger. You hid so fast just now, what's wrong with you? Xiao Ai had no choice but to bite the bullet. The two came to the middle of the square and stood opposite each other. Remember when I tested you last time? I showed 20% of your strength, and you persisted for an hour before you lost. Lao Ai said to Xiao Ai, I won't embarrass you this time, and I even showed 20% of your strength. If you can hold on for an hour and a half, even if you pass the exam. Quote. Okay, Xiao Ai reluctantly responded. Come on. Lao Ai reminded him, and then suddenly burst out. The mountain-like momentum pressed towards Xiao Ai, and instantly rushed to Xiao Ai, punching him hard. Seeing the tricks, Xiao Ai fought with Lao Ai bow. There was a roar of applause around, and each time Lao Ai and Xiao Ai discussed each other, it was extremely exciting. Although Lao Ai suppressed his strength, his combat experience could not be suppressed. Xiao Ai is not bad either. After all, Kumogakure ranks in the top 10. There are a large group of onlookers who are cheering and booing, but few are Xiao Ai's opponents. The speed of this kid has really gotten faster. Lao Ai and Xiao Ai fought each other for a moment, and they were extremely relieved. Xiao Ai knew that he was suffering. In order to prevent Lao Ai from seeing the flaws, he had suppressed his speed and changed his ability to strength tendency, but he was used to speed before. This kind of change made him very uncomfortable. Adapting, there are some feelings that can't be changed. After the two played for more than 10 minutes, Lao Ai saw the problem. Because Xiao Ai has been unable to resist, as if his fists and feet have deteriorated, and flaws are frequently exposed. What's going on with this kid? Is it really uncomfortable? Lao Ai thought to himself, but instead of showing mercy, he attacked even more fiercely. Xiao Ai didn't know much, but Lao Ai hit him on the knee, and suddenly staggered. Lao Ai seized the opportunity, grabbed Xiao Ai's arm and threw it over his shoulder, put him on the ground, and held him with his backhand. Lao Ai didn't even have a big move, so he subdued Xiao Ai. There was an uproar in the square. What's the matter? It seems that the strength has regressed, is it really a waste of practice? Is it because you've been in Konoha too long? Hey, it's not going to be a plateau, is it? Then, that's the end of it. The so-called platform period is actually a way of saying that it is a bottleneck. Many super geniuses in the world of ninja in history have had a platform period, and some have not crossed it, and have stopped moving forward for life. The plateau period is a very scary situation, but if Xiao really encounters this situation, don't worry too much, because he is still young. Old I thought that Xiao was really feeling unwell, but when he listened to the discussion, his face turned black. What the hell is going on with you, kid? Lao Ai picked up Xiao and roared loudly, if I don't stare at you for a day, you will be lazy and slippery, and you won't even be able to use your fists. How can you inherit Raikage's legacy in the future? Lao Ai doesn't give any face at all. He loves his son, and because he is willing to enter the Kurigakure Corps alone and return injured, the way he disciplines Xiao can be described as simple and rude. The face of Xiao who was reprimanded in public had turned purple Yuhi, and she retorted excitedly, I'm not being lazy. That's not the case. Xiao regretted it a little, why didn't she show her true skills? In that case, even if his father finds out that he has changed, it will not be more embarrassing than being reprimanded in public now. Chapter 0718_What if I win? Xiao looked at her father with dissatisfaction, and seemed even more angry than Lao Ai. Okay, it's against you. Lao Ai laughed angrily and waved his hand. Come on, take it down for me, throw it into the dungeon, and let him calm down for me. No, Lord Raikage, the little guy is young and energetic, you can. Forget it, he stayed in Konoha for a month. He was seriously injured and his strength has deteriorated, which is understandable. All calm down, father and son have something to talk about, why did this? The older Kumogakure powerhouses all tried to persuade them. Although they teased and ridiculed Xiao before, they didn't really look down on him. Instead, they loved him very much. On the one hand, it is because this is a contradiction between the father and son, and they all think that Lao Ai is saying angry words. On the other hand, it is also the consequence of Lao Ai paving the way for Xiao Ai for many years, which makes Xiao Ai, who is only 18 years old, second only to Lao Ai in the prestige in Konoha village. Okay, you bastards. Lao Ai was also in a hurry. If you don't do it, I will do it myself. I don't believe it, he can turn the sky over. In a rage, Lao Ai rushed to Xiao Ai, wanting to take Xiao Ai and send him into the dungeon by himself. Eyes were full of Yuhi, was willing to obediently grab it, turned around and ran, with a sonic boom in an instant, the speed exceeded the speed of sound, and sprinted directly to the edge of the square, but he still couldn't get rid of Lao Ai. Lao Ai followed him like a shadow, grabbed with big hands to Xiao Ai's shoulder. Xiao Ai dodged sideways in an instant, her footsteps continuously changing like shadows, and she actually went around Lao Ai's side. This square is built halfway up the mountain, and the edge is empty. Xiao Ai avoids Lao Ai and wants to jump down, but Lao Ai grabs Xiao Ai's ankle like a thunderbolt, and then his arm is rounded. Toss. Xiao Ai flew over half of the square and was thrown in the middle of the square, but because he was in Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode, he did not fall. Lao Su taught his son, and everyone else stayed far away. It was not their turn to point fingers at this kind of thing. Xiao Ai got up from the middle of the square and looked at her father with grief and indignation. What a shame. In addition to discussing, Lao Ai has not taught Xiao Ai a lesson in public for many years. After all, Xiao Ai is an adult, and Lao Ai knows it is not appropriate to do so. Forget it, forget it. Forget it. An elderly Kumogakure strong man with high status and detachment stood up to make peace. He was afraid that the father and son would become estranged because of today's incident. But Lao Ai didn't listen to what he said, but stared at Xiao Ai with a very strange expression. Just now, Xiao Ai almost avoided Lao Ai's pursuit. In the end, Lao Ai used 50% of his strength in one fell swoop before he caught Xiao Ai and threw him out. This made Lao Ai a little unbelievable, and even suspected that it was an illusion. What happened to you just now? Are you hiding your strength from me? Lao Ai asked. Xiao Ai was panting heavily, looking at Lao Ai with bloodshot eyes, thinking about it in his heart before he nodded. If you don't show your true skills, you're not so unbearable, so it's a hidden strength. Come on, don't hide it with me, I'll still show 20% of my strength. If you can't hold on for an hour, then go to the dungeon for me to reflect on it. Lao Ai flickered to the middle of the square again. Before Xiao Ai could answer, she ran away again. Xiao Ai wanted to prove herself very much. This time, without waiting for Lao Ai to rush in front of her, she moved to increase the speed to ultimate and took the initiative to rush to Lao Ai. As soon as the two approached, Lao Ai punched Xiao Ai in the face like a cannonball. He suppressed his strength, so this punch would not break Xiao Ai's defense. The consequence of the hit was that Xiao Ai flew out. Xiao Ai met the fist without dodging, and at the same time slapped Lao Ai's eyes with his palms. A close call. Lao Ai's fist was about to hit Xiao Ai, but Xiao Ai swayed and flicked to Lao Ai's side. His previous arm swing was just a feint move. Both fists hit Lao Ai's waist. Lao Ai was shocked. He didn't expect his son to be so fast, and tried to wave his arms to block it, but he didn't expect that Xiao Ai's double punches were also a false move, but he saw him quickly slap his waist, dodging Lao Ai's arms at the same time. Slammed his feet, turned his body sideways, and slammed his shoulders against Lao Ai. Lao Ai was hit and flew out, tumbling more than 20 meters in the air, and then somersaulted to the ground. The needle drop could be heard for a moment in the square. Xiao Ai does not have Lao Ai with 20% strength in the war, but he knocked Lao Ai flying in one round, which is enough to prove his strength. Lao Ai with 20% strength is not his opponent at all. Incredible. Lao Ai's expression was serious, staring at Xiao Ai, as if re-examining his son. Okay, come again. Lao Ai waved his arms again, opened his posture, and said with a serious face, this time I will use 25% of my strength. If you can persist for 3 minutes, I will protect your grandfather's protection. Arm for you. Xiao Ai's grandfather, who was also Lao Ai's father, left the pair of arm guards and considered treasures. The arm guards used by Xiao Ai are imitations of those arm guards. What if I win? Xiao Ai said with a stubborn neck, still full of dissatisfaction. Hey, Lao Ai sneered, you want to run before you learn to walk. Come on. The father and son were violent at the same time, and the speed of Lao Ai, who took out 25% of his strength, has been significantly improved. After all, compared with 20% of his strength, that is a quarter more. Two got close again. This time, Xiao Ai was unable to establish an absolute advantage in one round. The two of you fought extremely well. Lao Ai had an absolute advantage in strength, while Xiao Ai was in speed. The skills are more brilliant. The two sides fought fiercely for half a minute, but Xiao Ai still showed no sign of defeat, but instead became more and more brave. There were constant applause around, and many people were saying that Xiao Ai was out of order at first, but her strength has really grown. But Lao Ai didn't think so, because he found a problem. What's the matter with you? Your fists have no power at all. What's the use of being soft-handed and playing tricks? Lao Ai roared while fighting, and he finally discovered Xiao Ai's secret, bastard. You don't follow what I said. Practice. Xiao Ai didn't say a word, and attacked Lao Ai in a false way. Han Guang once said to him that if you keep it for a long time, you will lose it. At present, Xiao Ai takes the initiative, and he is looking for Lao Ai's flaws. Chapter 0719 _ Who did you learn from? Although Lao Ai was angry and knew that Xiao Ai had changed the direction of cultivation without authorization, he did not immediately end the fight because he wanted to know how much Xiao Ai had changed and whether he could change it. In the eyes of Lao Ai, Xiao Ai has gone astray. Although this change has temporarily improved Xiao Ai, if this path is not suitable for him, he will encounter a plateau soon after the promotion, and it will be too late to regret it. Ai is very sad. He didn't expect that his son would hide such a big thing from him, and he finally understood why Xiao Ai kept hiding from him these days, probably because he was afraid of seeing how he looked when he was cultivating. Are you going to fight? Lao Ai continued to roar, heavier your fist. You don't have any strength at all. If you are like this, even if I stand and let you fight, you can't hurt me in the slightest. Xiao Ai was unmoved. He can't change it anymore. If he is forced to change it. He has tried it before, but it will become clumsy and full of flaws. The two fought for nearly 10 minutes. Lao Ai only hit Xiao Ai a few times, and each time, due to the angle problem, he could not exert his full strength. Xiao Ai has been dodging with the advantage of speed. Not a lot. He has hit Lao Ai at least 100 punches, but because of the problem of punching power, let alone breaking Lao Ai's defense, he can't even make Lao Ai retreat. As Lao Ai said, Xiao Ai is really soft-handed, and his attack power is not as good as before. Did you hear me? Lao Ai roared, what's the use of dodging? As he spoke, a stern figure with a knife appeared in Lao Ai's mind. Cold light. Xiao Ai's current style of play has a bit of Han Guang flavor, that is, Xiao Ai's attack is too weak, which is far worse than Han Guang's waterfall knife rain. Is it because when I was in Konoha, I chased down the cold light for too long, and was subtly affected by the cold light? No way. Even if it is affected, there are some similarities in dodging, and why are there some similarities in the style of play? I don't understand. What Lao Ai didn't know was that Xiao Ai was actually looking for opportunities. His attack wasn't so weak, but he didn't have the right opportunity. But I saw that the angry old eye bullied into Xiao Ai, with his arms wide open, one defending and one attacking. Great opportunity. A flash of light flashed in Xiao Ai's eyes, and he summoned chakra to hit both feet, and immediately jumped up and rushed to Lao Ai's chest. Lao Ai responded very quickly and punched Xiao Ai's abdomen, but Xiao Ai used his hands as a weapon. The knife hit Lao Ai's elbow in an instant, and Lao Ai's punching arm suddenly changed direction. Xiao Ai seized the opportunity to bully Lao Ai's arms directly, punching frequently, and instantly hit 23 punches, all at one point. When Lao Ai was shocked, he also seized the opportunity and raised his knee to hit Xiao Ai's abdomen. Xiao Ai did not dodge or dodge, the breath all over her body exploded directly to the apex, she pulled her arms and pointed her elbows forward. Recurrent storm. Boom _. While Lao Ai broke Xiao Ai's Raiden Thunder style chakra mode with his knees, Xiao Ai hit Lao Ai's heart with a heavy flow. You must know that although Xiao Ai practiced turning speed, ninjutsu is a fixed ability. The power of the big move will not be weakened. Xiao Ai's blow directly shattered Lao Ai's Raiden Thunder style armor with 25% of his strength, hitting the flesh between Lao Ai's chest. Lao Ai flew out like a cannonball. Crossed an extremely long arc in the air, flew 100 or 2 meters, and was about to fly out of the hanging square and fall. Of course Lao Ai would not let such a thing happen. Fully mobilized chakra, one flip, and another fall, and it landed on the edge of the square. Quiet. Many people in the square dropped their jaws in shock and looked dazed. Xiao Ai wins. He actually won 25% of the strength of the third generation of Reikage. 2 months ago, he couldn't even win against 20% of Lao Ai's strength. How could he have such a terrifying growth? Although Xiao Ai's Raiden Thunder style chakra mode was also broken, he didn't fly out, indicating that Lao Ai's knee hit was not solid. However, even if Lao Ai flew that far, there was no serious injury, because although the Raiden Thunder style armor was broken, Lao Ai's body was still activated, and its defense was still extremely strong. There was some pain in his chest, but Lao Ai didn't have the heart to care about it. He stared at his son with no expression on his face. Get out of here. Lao Ai raised his hand suddenly. The onlookers suddenly scattered. Lao Ai lost face. They were very afraid, for fear that Lao Ai would get angry. They just use them as sparring. If they are crazy, they want to be Lao Ai's sparring, they will vomit blood. Soon, only Lao Ai, Xiao Ai and his son were left in the square. Although Xiao Ai won the competition, she became guilty under Lao Ai's gaze and dared not look directly into Lao Ai's eyes. Answer me honestly. Lao Ai looked at his son, his voice was calm, but his eyes were burning. Who did you learn from? Lao Ai knows his son too well. He has taught Xiao Ai for more than 10 years, and he knows how much Xiao Ai's talents are. He knows that even if Xiao Ai decides to change the direction of cultivation on a whim, if there is no guidance, it is impossible to grow so fast and terrifying. A person groping for the practice alone, and someone guiding the practice, the gap is not an ordinary big. Otherwise, there would be no so-called teacher in this world. Thump. Xiao Ai knelt down directly, drooping her head and said, "Father, I was wrong, it was Han Guang." The matter had come to this point, Xiao Ai could only tell the whole story and explain everything clearly. He was very guilty, because Lao Ai had taught him for 14 or 5 years. He gave up a lot and lost a lot for him. He went against Lao Ai's wishes and took a different path. He didn't know how sad his father would be. While Xiao Ai was telling Lao Ai about the situation, the village of Kumogakure, 50 miles to the west, is Rocky Yamanaka. It's coming soon. If we meet the Kumogakure scouts, we should show up too. After all, this time we are here to negotiate an alliance. Although it is difficult, we must at least give it a try. I'm afraid that Raikage, the third generation, will ask for money again, or propose a duel. Let's take one step at a time. The three figures, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru, chatted anxiously and went straight to the village of Kumogakure. Chapter 0720 What a big game of chess. As early as 3 days ago, under the arrangement of Lu Han, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru quietly left Konoha and sent Kumogakure as an envoy in the name of supporting the secret mission of the Land of Rain. Lu Han didn't tell anyone about this, mainly because there were too many voices against it. The Iwagakure mission was living in Konoha village again, for fear of any changes due to leaks. Lu Han did not plan to go to Kumogakure village to negotiate with Lao Ai in person, for 2 reasons. First, it was inconvenient for him to leave Konoha village now. The war in the Land of Rain had started again, the situation was tense, and the Iwagakure mission was close at hand. If Lu Han did not show up to Konoha for a few days, it would definitely cause suspicion and would be inconvenient for war scheduling. The second is that Lu Han is worried that Lao Ai will not give face. He knows very well that Lao Ai is the kind of person who refuses to admit defeat. If he wins by tricks, he will definitely not be convinced. Asking for a duel, Lu Han didn't want to be so troublesome. The reason why he sent Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru to come is mainly because Tsunade has enough weight. She is not only a medical saint, but also Lu Han's wife. She can show Konoha's attention and sincerity to this matter. Tsunade has healed Xiao Ai, which will definitely win Lao Ai's favor, and Xiao Ai respects Tsunade. If he can help with a few words, that would be great. Kumogakure village, a hanging square halfway up the mountain. Lao Ai had already walked up to Xiao Ai. After listening to Xiao Ai's situation with a complicated face, Xiao Ai had already started to admit his mistake, saying that he had failed his father's teaching. Lao Ai was both relieved and sad to hear it. Fortunately, Xiao Ai concealed herself from herself, not only for fear of punishment, but also for being sad. Sadly, Xiao Ai has completely deviated from the growth path Lao Ai planned for him. Lao Ai wanted Xiao Ai to inherit his mantle, but now an irreversible mistake has occurred. "Get up," Lao Ai said, and was silent again. Xiao Ai got up with a cautious look. Seeing that her father's face was constantly changing, the weather was uncertain, and she didn't dare to say anything. Hangguang, what are you thinking?" Lao Ai said in his heart. He couldn't understand what Lu Han wanted to do, so he took the initiative to point Xiao Ai. Was he trying to lead him astray? Or are you sincerely pointing out that you intend to close the relationship? Well-intentioned or malicious? What confuses Lao Ai the most is that Xiao Ai said that Han Guang had driven him many times and was unwilling to give more advice. Lao Ai didn't know that this was Lu Han's hard-to-find tactics, so it was even more difficult for him to understand Lu Han's intentions. Is my son really better at speed? Lao Ai's thoughts were complicated. He thought about it a lot. He thought about which aspect of his son was more talented, and also thought of the battle with Hangguang in the Valley of the End. There is no doubt that Xiao Ai is by no means going astray. If you suddenly change your fighting style, even if you understand something, you can't grow so much. You must be extremely talented, taught, and hard enough. All three are indispensable, otherwise Xiao Ai would not have changed so much. Cold light is kind. The Battle of the End Valley was unforgettable in Lao Ai's heart. This was the worst defeat in his life. Han Guang didn't kill him, and even claimed that it was a tie. This was an extremely obvious signal and a gesture of goodwill. But who dares to say that there is no conspiracy behind this? Old Ai feels tricky. Because he had never encountered a strong enemy like Han Guang, Han Guang's unconventional approach made Lao Ai not sure what Han Guang wanted to do. What a big game of chess. It's not a blessing for Kumogakure to have such an enemy at such a young age. Lao Ai looked at the clouds in the sky with his hands behind his back and thought about it for a long time. Xiao Ai never dared to move or speak, so she could only stand by and accompany her. Call _. The strong chakra fluctuations approached quickly, but saw a Kumogakure ninja flashing thunder light all over the body, rushing to the square along the winding stone stairs, and quickly arrived in front of Lao Ai. 10 miles away. Oh! Lao Ai was energized for a while, and after a moment of thought, he said, "Let Asoi bring people to meet them, slow down their entry into the village, and notify several advisors for an emergency meeting." Yes, the Kumogakure ninja took the lead and left quickly. "Go to the treasure house and get the armguard," Lao Ai said to Xiao Ai, and disappeared from the square. There was only Xiao Ai left in the square. He let out a long breath and seemed very tired. Xiao Ai's mind was very simple. Lao Ai didn't blame him just now. He felt very relaxed, and immediately put the matter behind him and turned his attention to the pair of armguards. Just as Xiao Ai was about to leave the square, she seemed to suddenly feel something, turned her head in confusion, and looked at the stone gate of the cave on the side of the mountain wall. The stone door was half open, and a little boy of about 6 or 7 years old with pale yellow hair and bronze skin was looking out sneakily. Said, "Brother, have you been taught again? You kid gloat in misfortune." Xiao Ai glared at the little guy. "How can I? How dare I?" The little boy walked up to Xiao Ai with his shoulders in his arms, looking like a little adult, and flattered, "Are you going to the treasure house? Take me with you." "No," Xiao Ai refused. Take me there, I'm going." The little boy grabbed Xiao Ai's clothes, swayed his body to play a rogue, and almost rolled on the ground. Xiao Ai couldn't help being troubled, and said angrily, "It's all right, I'll take you there, but you can't take things indiscriminately, and don't let others know." In fact, Xiao Ai does not object to the little boy going to the treasure house, but he is afraid of being trapped. This little guy is a jerk. He is none other than Xiao Ai's righteous brother, Killer Bee Jinchuriki, column force of Kumogakure village, named Killer Bee. This is not the first time Killer Bee has cheated on Xiao Ai, because he is young, and he is a Jinchuriki column force, and has high expectations. Lao Ai always can't bear to punish him, and is very partial, so once he does something wrong, as long as it is related to Xiao Ai, it is always Xiao Ai who is punished. "I warn you, if you dare to take things indiscriminately, don't blame me for beating you." Xiao Ai put a big hand on Killer Bee's shoulder and took him to the treasure house, not forgetting to threaten him a few words. Chapter 0721-Cold Letter. Before Tsunade and others entered Kumogakure, Lao Ai held a very brief high-level meeting. Although he didn't know the purpose of Konoha, he had lost to Han Guang before. He knew very well that this time the Konoha messenger came, and he definitely wanted something. In this regard, Lao Ai asked for some opinions, what requests can be agreed temporarily, and what requests should be rejected at once. Although Lao Ai has his own ideas, he will not ignore the opinions of the consultants. After half an hour, in the quaint and tough hall, Lao Ai led 2 advisors and many Kumogakure guards who supported the scene to formally receive the Konoha messenger. Lao Ai did not expect that the ambassador to Kumogakure was actually Tsunade. Tsunade has many titles. She is not only the wife of Han Guang, but also the granddaughter of Hokage of the first generation, and the only female disciple of Sarutobi Hiruzen of Hokage of the third generation. Because of so many titles, Tsunade's position in Konoha is not high enough, but her status is extremely special. Tsunade came with good intentions, the etiquette was in place, and Lao Ai didn't make things difficult, so the two sides exchanged greetings. "I don't know why you came here this time," Lao Ai asked solemnly. "This is a handwritten letter from my husband Kun, please read it by Mr. Rakage." Tsunade took out the scroll from his arms and handed it to the nearest Kumogakure ninja. The Kumogakure ninja wanted to check if there was any problem with the scroll, Lao Ai, but he said directly, "No need, bring it." After getting the scroll, Lao Ai opened it and looked at it. "I fought with Kun a few days ago, I benefited a lot, and I felt a lot. The ninja war lasted for several years, and the world was in turmoil. Not only did ninjas die and wounded, but also displaced people everywhere. Missing nin ran rampant, and I don't know how many innocent people died. In the morning dream, blood stained the village and river, and I don't know how many bereaved people dreamed back at midnight with tears full of pillows. This battle was originally a battle of interests, but now, it has become a battle of hatred, and the catastrophe has swept across, just like you and me exist. Also have to fight between life and death, there is also the possibility of falling, is it worth it?" Quote. Konoha is not a belligerent friend, but he is the strongest in the world, attracting envy and hatred, but unable to balance the world, trapped in a quagmire, trying to calm down the troubled world, and ultimately unable to do it. Although Kumogakure is famous for war, but there are many sincere people, too, in history. There was a covenant of mutual alliance, although they hated each other due to changes, but the resentment in the past is always in the past. If you fight persistently, it will only make the relatives hate it even more, and the enemy will cheer. The war has been turbulent for too long, the farmland has been destroyed, the trade routes are blocked, the country is full of red land, and the people are starving, how can I bear it? This war is not good for you and me, not good for the country, not good for the world. The turmoil should come to an end, and I, Han Wang, would like to do it for you. This is a life-threatening effort, and I sincerely invite, Kun is willing to join hands to form an alliance between the two forces, and to bring peace to the world. Will you? A long letter that is eloquent, not to mention the literary beauty, but also Akatsuki's emotional. In fact, Luhan didn't want to be so troublesome, he just wrote a sentence about forming an alliance. But in this way, it may not be able to impress the stubborn Lao Ai, and it may not be able to impress the Kumogakure executives. You must know that the matter of forming an alliance is not a matter of two people, but a matter of two shinobi villages. The village of Konoha is in trouble, and the country of Rain is at a disadvantage in the battlefield. Therefore, they actively seek an alliance. The top officials of Konoha are eagerly hoping that Konoha can form alliances with other forces to reverse the disadvantage. But Kumogakure is different. They have no need to form an alliance. They have been fighting against Iwagakure for many years. After invading the land, they do not know how much money they looted. Although they did not occupy the land and population, they still tasted the sweetness of the war. Of course, Kumogakure also killed a lot of ninjas for it. After reading Luhan's letter, Lao Ai was silent for a long time. "What do you think, Lord Rakage?" Tsunade asked after waiting for a while. "Are you here to negotiate an alliance?" Lao Ai raised his head and asked. He seemed to want to confirm with the messenger, because the alliance request in Lu Hengxin's letter came too suddenly, which caught Lao Ai by surprise. "Yes," Tsunade nodded. "This matter is of great importance." Lao Ai opened his mouth, stopped again, and thought for a while before saying, "You stay in the village for now, and I will let you know when I discuss the results here." Tsunade's face suddenly brightened, and Jiraiya and Orochimaru's expressions were strange, even a little surprised. He didn't refuse right away. "Have a play." Lao Ai asked Tsunade to arrange accommodation for the three of them. After the three of them left with the Kumogakure ninja who led the way, he immediately called someone to announce the meeting. Different from the previous brief meeting, Lao Ai called a full 20 or 30 people this time. In addition to a few advisors at the top, the principals of various departments, legion psychics, and the chiefs of major clans are all on the list. It also includes Lao Ai's son, Xiao Ai. The dimly lit cave is extremely huge, and the Raiden Thunder style chakra is strong. The cave is full of things, piles of gold-silver, stacked boxes, and many valuable objects, such as gold-silver utensils, statues and jewelry, etc., many of which are randomly piled together and look very messy. This is the Kumogakure treasure house, the most heavily guarded forbidden area in the village of Kumogakure. Xiao Ai has the right to enter and leave the treasure house at will, and does not need Lao Ai to specially notify the caretaker. Crash. A sound of rummaging. Xiao Ai was rummaging through a pile of clutter, and the little guy Killer Bee ran to a dark place, looking for something he liked while noticing whether Xiao Ai was looking at himself. Hey, this knife is so beautiful, and it doesn't look like a very valuable thing. Killer Bee's eyes lit up, and he said loudly on purpose, and picked up a sheathless sword from the weapon rack. Don't take it, Xiao Ai said without thinking, then looked up at Killer Bee. Little Killer Bee held the tachi, and with a flick of his arm, he shook out 3 knives. It was incredible to be able to show this kind of swordsmanship at such an age. Put it back. Xiao Ai drank again. Killer Bee pouted in dissatisfaction and put down the knife reluctantly. Xiao Ai sighed in her heart, but unfortunately, Killer Bee has an extraordinary talent in swordsmanship, but Kumogakure does not have a ninja with extremely high swordsmanship. Although there are many people who can point Killer Bee, when Killer Bee grows up, I'm afraid he can only rely on himself. Xiao Ai was suddenly stunned, because he thought of a person with the strongest swordsmanship in the world today, Han Guang. Chapter 0722_Ali. In the past, the most powerful swordsman in the ninja world was demigod Hanzo. Later, Konoha White Fang chased after him. Someone once said that White Fang's swordsmanship may surpass Hanzo in the future, but some people are not optimistic about White Fang, thinking that the demigods will always be the strongest swordsman. Until the cold light turned out. Swordsmanship is the strongest, no more controversy. Because Hangguang chased and killed Hanzo for thousands of miles, and finally cut off Hanzo's arm, he became famous all over the world. Xiao Ai's knowledge of Hangguang's swordsmanship comes entirely from the Battle of End Valley. Xiao Ai saw Hangguang perform swordsmanship in Raiden Thunder style chakra mode with her own eyes, and she fought with Lao Ai. In Xiao Ai's opinion, Hangguang can fight with his father for so long with swordsmanship, and no one can do anything about it. He must be the strongest. It is impossible for someone to be stronger than the cold light sword technique. Otherwise, wouldn't he be able to defeat his father? The despicable and shameless Han Guang. If he hadn't learned the Raiden Thunder style chakra pattern, how could he have been on a tie with his father? Thinking of Lu Han, Xiao Ai became angry and bit Kiba for a while. He felt at a loss again. Although I have gained some skills with the cold light, how can it be compared with the Raiden Thunder style chakra pattern being stolen? Slam, la. A screeching sound. But it was the unhappy Killer Bee expressing his dissatisfaction to Xiao Ai, deliberately fiddling with the swords on the weapon general to make noise. There are many ninjas who are good at swordsmanship in Kumogakure village, so there are many swords on the weapon rack, but the swords are weak. Numbers, those that can be placed in the treasure house are not ordinary. Xiao Ai looked at Killer Bee again, but did not scold, instead her mind moved. If Hangguang can guide Killer Bee's swordsmanship, Killer Bee will definitely improve rapidly. Hangguang takes advantage of Kumogakure, so we can't just forget it. When I have a chance to see Hangguang again, I must make him pay the price. It's a pity. Quote. Xiao Ai thought about it over and over again, and immediately forgot about it again, and concentrated on searching. He also knew that his thoughts were a little unrealistic. Han Guang was a supreme powerhouse with the same reputation as his father. Even if he had the chance to see him, he couldn't force him to point out anyone. I don't know when I will go to Konoha again. Xiao Ai muttered, her eyes suddenly lit up. The pile of items in front of him, along with some gold and silver utensils on the pile, slipped and fell, and a gray box was exposed. The box that Xiao Ai remembered was seen when she was very young. Immediately took out the box, removed the lock on it. Xiao Ai opened the box. There was a pair of golden armguards with thick walls. That's it. Xiao Ai couldn't wait to remove the imitations from her arms and put them on for real. You can take it, not me, cheapskate. Killer Bee muttered beside the weapon rack, then glanced at the knife he had taken before the knife on the weapon rack. In fact, that sword was not that good either. Compared to the famous swords used by some of the Kumogakure ancestors on the weapon rack, it was quite ordinary. The best knife 7-year-old Killer Bee had ever seen growing up. The sound of footsteps suddenly sounded, approaching quickly. Master, an emergency meeting. Lord Raikage will let you pass. A Kumogakure Anbu ninja rushed into the treasure house and quickly said to Xiao Ai. Oh, I see, go right away. Xiao Ai replied immediately, and while running out, he didn't forget to greet Killer Bee. Don't look. Don't take things indiscriminately, go. Come on. Killer Bee responded loudly on purpose, but didn't go out. Xiao Ai was very impatient, because he knew that once it was an emergency meeting to notify him of the past, it must be a matter of great importance. Lao Ai hates someone to be late. Xiao Ai didn't look behind, until he ran out of the long passage, only to realize that the little guy didn't follow. Troublejing, hurry up, bring that kid out to me. Xiao Ai didn't go back to look for it, she instructed the guard ninja, and hurried to the conference room. The meeting was held on time and no one was absent. Lao Ai explained the purpose of the Konoha messenger, and then took out Lu Han's personal letter and handed it to several high-level advisors to circulate to each other. Alliance. Konoha wants to form an alliance with us so suddenly. I am afraid that he will encounter big trouble. I am afraid that there is a problem in the battlefield of the Rain Country. Unable to form an alliance, we became Konoha's help, but Kumogakure was no good. I don't know what happened in the country of Rain. Xiao Ai attended the meeting and sat on the right side of Lao Ai. Lao Ai had the intention to cultivate Xiao Ai, so Xiao Ai had a very strong voice at the meeting. Alliance. Xiao Ai's face was a little weird, her eyes were faintly shining. Henguu is about the same strength as my father. Kumogakure and Konoha have formed an alliance. The one who came to our Kumogakure as a messenger this time is Han Guang's wife, the medical sage Tsunade. Since Han Guang sent his wife here, it shows that he attaches great importance to this matter and is eager to form an alliance. Listening to the discussions, Lao Ai interjected. Road. Is it Master Tsunade? Xiao Ai looked at Lao Ai blankly with a startled look. Yes, what's wrong? Lao Ai didn't understand why his son reacted like this. Oh, it's nothing, that is, when I was in Konoha village, I was taken care of by Master Tsunade. I had lunch at Hengguang's house for many days, and I was invited by Master Tsunade. Xiao Ai said something. One bite at a time, Master Tsunade. Xiao Ai's respect for Tsunade is reflected in her words. Lao Ai nodded. He didn't have too many strange feelings about Tsunade before, but now he thinks Tsunade is good, very good. This meeting lasted for a full 3 hours. Because the quarrel was too intense, there was no discussion about going to war. After the meeting, everyone dispersed, and they were still talking in a low voice after they walked out of the conference room. A green forest at the foot of the mountain. The two Kumogakure advisors walked and talked about the alliance. They didn't shut up until they met the Kumogakure patrolling ninjas. The content of the meeting was confidential and could not be known to ordinary Kumogakure ninjas. But they didn't see that shortly after they left the green forest, a white figure grew out of the bushes with a strange look. Alliance. White Zetsu muttered, with a sneer. Chapter 0723 _ Strict Teacher Produces Master Apprentice. On the rough stone courtyard field, the little guy Killer Bee held a taller sword in both hands, slashing again and again, sweat dripping down his cheeks, but he seemed tireless. Ninja school is off today, so Killer Bee doesn't need to go to school. Killer Bee's tutor is named Nakara. He is dark-skinned. Although he is tall, he is not strong in Kumogakure village. He has been teaching Killer Bee for 2 years when he is over 30 years old. He is from Kumogakure Anbu. Kumogakure Anbu is a famous swordsman, but Killer Bee doesn't know Akatsuki's true identity. Nakala walked out of the stone building on the side, looked at Killer Bee, who was practicing his swords hard, and nodded with great satisfaction. Killer Bee didn't notice the teacher coming, still focused. Nakala walked behind Killer Bee and suddenly became suspicious. He noticed the knife in Nakala's hand. It seemed to be the weapon of a sage of Kumogakure's swordsmanship. How could it be in Killer Bee's hands? Killer Bee heard the movement behind him, turned around and greeted respectfully, "Teacher." "Where did the knife come from?" Nakala asked. "Yes." Killer Bee rolled his eyes. "It was given to me by Lord Rakage." Nakala knew it, and there is no doubt about him. Killer Bee is Killer Bee Jinchuriki column force. Lao Ai has always been very fond of him, and it is nothing more than a knife as a reward. At this moment, Xiao Ai, who had just returned from a meeting, entered the courtyard. She wanted to greet the little guy, but she saw that the knife that Killer Bee was holding was in the treasure trove, and immediately shouted, "Bastard! Come here." Killer Bee was not afraid either, looked back at Xiao Ai very calmly, and hummed, "This knife was given to me by Lord Rakage. If you don't believe it, we will confront it." The little guy is threatening Xiao Ai. This matter is going to hit Lao Ai, and Xiao Ai's unauthorized taking Killer Bee to the treasure house will be exposed. At that time, although both of them will be taught a lesson, Xiao Ai will definitely be worse. "Okay you." Xiao Ai was furious. Killer Bee ran away with a knife in his hand. In Kumogakure village, the only one who would beat him was Xiao Ai, and a hero would not suffer any immediate losses. Xiao Ai angrily wanted to catch up, but was stopped by Nakara. "Master, forget it, Killer Bee didn't do anything wrong," Nakala persuaded. "Humph." Xiao Ai snorted heavily, "Little devil. Don't let me see you." After threatening Killer Bee, who had run away, he gave Nakala a sideways look and said with great dissatisfaction, "You always do this to defend him, he will become more and more presumptuous." Quote, Yes, I will correct it." Nakala didn't dare to refute, and became a response bug. Although he is Killer Bee's teacher, his identity is 108,000 miles away from Little Abbey, and the difference in strength is also huge. The more Xiao Ai looked at Nakala, the less pleasing to the eye. For nothing else, just because Killer Bee is getting more and more difficult to discipline, and his ability to act as a rogue is increasing day by day, Xiao Ai feels that it is really Nakala's dereliction of duty, and he has not been educated well. However, Xiao Ai also understands that Nakala has concerns about not daring to educate Killer Bee cruelly. Killer Bee's identity is too special, not only Killer Bee Jinchuriki column force, but also the future brother of Rakage, the 4th generation. These guys in the village can't even teach a child well. Xiao Ai walked away angrily, feeling that he had to tell his father about this. Xiao Ai has always believed in a strict teacher and a master student. Because that's how he came here. Lao Ai has been extremely strict with him since he was a child, which makes Xiao Ai almost without shortcomings, of course, not absolute. The only problem with Xiao Ai is that he is short-tempered and impulsive, but this is inherited from Lao Ai, not a problem of discipline. Xiao Ai found Lao Ai in the office, and did not say anything about Killer Bee stealing the knife, but said that Killer Bee was getting more and more naughty and neglected. Lao Ai is also very embarrassed. In fact, it is not difficult to find someone with an old-fashioned and strict character in the village, but if you add the Grand Master to swordsmanship, it will be very difficult. Kumogakure is good at swords, rather than a knife. Unless Lao Ai teaches Killer Bee himself, even if he is not good at swordsmanship, his experience alone is enough to teach 7-year-old Killer Bee. But this is not possible. Lao Ai didn't even understand his own son, so naturally he wouldn't bother to take care of Killer Bee. He's still young, it's normal for him to be naughty. Lao Ai could only say in the end, let's take a look when he's older. Time flies, and 5 days have passed in the blink of an eye. This morning, Lao I held a grand meeting again to discuss the alliance with Konoha. Lao I was actually inclined to form an alliance because he lost to Lu Han, but Lu Han didn't kill him. He felt that he should do something. In return, Xiao I is extremely hopeful of forming an alliance. Both father and son mean this, so this matter is almost finalized, but there are still some details of the alliance that need to be discussed clearly at the meeting. And at the same time, the village of Iwagakure, the land of the land. Third generation, Reikajinoki, left the office alone after instructing someone to announce the meeting, and walked into the meeting room. He frowned all the time, looking preoccupied. With Konoha. Not allied. For this matter, Iwagakure executives have been arguing for the sky, and there is no conclusion until now, and Onoki is also very embarrassed. The empty office, Onoki was the first to enter the door, and before the others arrived, he walked to the main seat and sat down, suddenly frowning. On the desk in front of him, opposite his chair, there was a reel. Onoki was puzzled, raised his hand and said, "Someone came here just now." Immediately, a ninja Iwagakure Anbu appeared at the door, knelt down on one knee and said, "Go back to Lord Tsuchikage." No. What's with the scroll? Onoki asked. This. Subordinates don't know. The Anbu ninja was a little frightened. He didn't remember that there was a scroll on the table before. Why did he suddenly have it? Who put it up? Someone came quietly. Thinking of this Anbu ninja couldn't help but sweat. Onoki's face darkened. He stared at the scroll for a while, then picked it up to check it, and then opened it. Tsunade has been in the country of thunder for several days, intending to form an alliance with Kumogakure on behalf of Konoha. Onoki's face changed dramatically, then he became furious and suddenly stood up and said, "Good, you cold light. You have 2 swords. Damn it." Chapter 0724_Alliance finalized. Onoki was trembling with anger. Konoha wanted to ally with Iwagakure. How dare he ally with Kumogakure? Who in this world does not know? Iwagakure village and Kumogakure village have an inseparable hatred. It is the land of life and death. Over the years, thousands of Iwagakure ninjas have died at the hands of Kumogakure ninjas. Fathers die for their sons, and brothers enter. The bloody feud is inseparable. In this case, Konoha wants to form an alliance with both parties at the same time. What exactly does Hongguang want to do? Not long after, many Iwagakure executives entered the venue one after another. They saw Onoki sitting on the chair with a gloomy face and said nothing. After everyone arrived, the door to the conference room was closed, and Onoki threw the scroll to the advisor closest to him, still sulking and not speaking. The consultant looked at the contents of the scroll, and his face changed greatly, and then handed the scroll to another consultant on the other side. After many people read the contents of the scroll, the conference room was completely blown up. Hongguang is shameless. It's strange that I have to be willing to strike the country with us. It turns out that I have secretly colluded with Kumogakure. I think Hongguang doesn't want to form an alliance with us Iwagakure at all. Conspiracy. This is a conspiracy. Even sending his wife out as a messenger, probably because he is determined to form an alliance with Kumogakure. Humph. Thankfully we didn't agree to an alliance right away, or we might get stabbed in the back by Konoha. There was a lot of excitement in the conference room, and there were some calm people who asked, "Lord Tsuchikage, I don't know where this situation came from." Because the style of the scroll is wrong, it can be seen that this information is not presented by the Iwagakure ninja. With a dark face, Onoki talked about the situation after he entered the office before, and finally said, "It is estimated that the intelligence detected by Omegakure and Sunagakure was sent by ninjas who are good at sneaking. Doing so would break Konoha from Iwagakure, so 80% of the time Konoha's enemies did it." Onoki naturally thought of Sunagakure and Omegakure first. "This may be a provocation. I think we should investigate first." "Yes, since the information was not obtained by our ninjas personally, it should be checked." Kumogakure village, dimly lit conference room. The meeting has come to an end. Then the alliance is finalized. Lao Ai glanced at everyone and said, "Who has any objections? The quarrel has been quarreled, and no one has objected at this time. Okay, let's end the meeting." Lao Ai got up and summoned his entourage to instruct him, "Notify the Konoha messenger and meet in the reception hall." Lao Ai and Xiao Ai walked out together, and the other Kumogakure executives also dispersed. When they reached the corridor, Xiao Ai said in a low voice, "Father, I want to go to Konoha village." Huh? Lao Ai glanced at his son. "Well, don't you want to form an alliance with Konoha? You need to sign an instrument. It is definitely not appropriate for you to go to Konoha in person, father. I will go on your behalf. Shall I organize the wording? In this way, it can also save a lot of time. The adults go to Konoha together and sign the alliance directly." Quote. At the end, Xiao Ai said fiercely, "Also, Han Guang steals our skills, we can't just let it go. Taking advantage of the opportunity to form an alliance, I must make him pay the price. If Han Guang refuses to point me, I will not use it." Allied to threaten him. After speaking, Xiao Ai secretly looked at Lao Ai's eyes. He has firmed up his idea of practicing speed flow, but he is very concerned about Lao Ai's attitude. Well, Lao Ai pondered, but there was no change in his face that worried Xiao Ai. "I'll talk about it when I see the Konoha messenger." Seeing that Lao Ai didn't agree immediately, Xiao Ai was a little disappointed, but didn't say anything. Not long after, Kumogakure Reception Hall. Lao Ai took Xiao Ai and met with Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru again. Lao Ai only spoke with Tsunade, because Tsunade was the messenger, and Jiraiya Orochimaru was the escort. "We Kumogakure agree to form an alliance with you Konoha, but there are 3 conditions," Lao Ai said solemnly. "Sir Raikage, please," Tsunade responded formally. "First, Kumogakure will not send troops to the country of rain for Konoha. The country of rain is too far from the country of thunder, and there are many small countries in the middle. It is not in our interest to send troops to the country of rain. Second, once Kumogakure engages Iwagakure again, hopefully Konoha will give support. Thirdly, this covenant lasts for a maximum of 2 years, and within those 2 years." After Lao Ai finished talking about the conditions, he immediately talked about the obligations after Kumogakure and Konoha formed an alliance. "Since the 2 sides have formed an alliance, if there is a crisis in Konoha, we can't just sit back and ignore it. If you can agree to the above 3 conditions, then we are willing to when the homeland of the country of fire is attacked, we will send troops to support. At the same time, we will help you to check and balance the village of Kurigakure in the country of water. Once the village of Kurigakure in the country of water takes action in the country of vortex, our Kumogakure will issue a warning. We may even cross the sea to attack the land of water." Quote. "I agree. On behalf of Konoha, I accept all the conditions that Kumogakure offered," Tsunade answered without even thinking. Because Lu Han had explained to her, the conditions proposed by Kumogakure were not excessive. The main thing is that they won't send troops to the country of rain. Lu Han didn't plan to send them troops at all. Otherwise, wouldn't Iwagakure know about the alliance between Konoha Kumogakure? According to Lu Han's idea, to form an alliance with Kumogakure, it is enough for Kumogakure to stand still and recuperate, let the allied Iwagakure send troops into the country of rain, and Kumogakure don't pull Iwagakure's hind legs. This is the most ideal result. The alliance was officially finalized. Lao Ai thought about it, and then said, "I will send my son as a representative to go with you to Konoha village and sign the alliance document. Don't bully my son and lie to him when he is young." Xiao Ai's face was happy. Tsunade's expression was strange, and he said, "Of course not, please rest assured, Lord Raikage." After the alliance was settled, Tsunade and the others left and went back to pack their bags and prepare to leave. Xiao Ai was excited to go back and pack up, but she seemed to suddenly remember something, so she stopped after walking a few steps, and turned around and said, "Father, I want to take Killer Bee to Konoha." Quote. Chapter 0725_Hanzo's Comeback. Xiao Ai didn't do it on a whim. He thought about it for a long time. Killer Bee, talent in swordsmanship is too outstanding. If he is asked to switch to swordsmanship, it may delay him. And today's genius, the strongest swordsman is Han Guang. More importantly, Han Guang has cultivated a very outstanding disciple, who is the current Konoha's unit commander Hatake Teishuo, which shows that Han Guang is not only strong, but also very good at teaching people. From Xiao Ai's point of view, he will not let Killer Bee apprentice, but wants Killer Bee to take advantage of it. Anyway, they have formed an alliance, Killer Bee Jinchuriki column force to go to Konoha. There is not much danger. Take him. Lao Ai frowned, not expecting that his son would suddenly make such a request. Why? Take him out to meet the world. We are brothers together. He has to assist me in the future, so naturally he has to open his eyes earlier. Xiao Ai first found a high-sounding reason, and then revealed the real purpose. Also, that bastard Han Guang, not only is he good at speed, but his swordsmanship is also superb. Kira went to Konoha, maybe he can let Han Guang give some pointers. Quote. No way. Lao Ai shook his head without thinking. Killer Bee is extremely important to Kumogakure. He is still young and not suitable for long-distance travel, and once he goes to Konoha, if something goes wrong, even if it is not Konoha's actions, Konoha is also responsible for breaking the alliance and hurting the roots of Kumogakure. Quote. Lao Ai thought very comprehensively. If Killer Bee was in his 20s, he might still think about it. Now that Killer Bee is only 7 years old, he hasn't graduated from the ninja school, and he doesn't even have the ability to protect himself. Lao Ai will never let Killer Bee leave Kumogakure village. Xiao Ai didn't force it, it was just an idea, not necessary. After half a day, Tsunade and others left Kumogakure village and officially set out on their way home. The reason it took so long was because it wasn't just Xiao Ai who went to Konoha with Tsunade, but a huge mission consisting of hundreds of people, and it took a lot of time for that row of people. Xiao Ai went to Konoha, but to represent Kumogakure to formally sign an alliance with Konoha, naturally he could not go alone. Among the ninjas who went to Konoha with him, there were many high-level Kumogakure executives. 3 days later, Tsunade and others and the Kumogakure delegation entered the country of fire. Because of the large number of people, the speed of the journey is not fast, so it will take at least 2 days before they reach Konoha, and since entering the country of fire, Orochimaru has taken the lead. He has to return to Konoha one day in advance to inform Konoha of the situation, so that Konoha can be prepared. Day later, Konoha village. During the war, there were a lot of meetings, especially after the war broke out in the Land of Rain. Luhan had a small meeting every day, a meeting every 3 days, and there would be emergency meetings from time to time. The third meeting room. The latest information, the scout team under the 6th Brigade of the 2nd Army reported to the top after the reconnaissance mission and found traces of Hanzo. This is an emergency meeting, and White Fang is explaining the latest important information. After Hanzo was injured, has been hiding in the village of Omegakure, but suddenly appeared outside the village of Omegakure this time, with an unknown motive. There is also information that a reconnaissance brigade of the 2nd Corps and 3 scout teams have disappeared in the area where Hanzo appeared, and it is suspected that Hanzo did it. After White Fang finished speaking, he sat down, and Kaharu Udatain immediately said, "In the battlefield of the Land of Rain, we were not able to check and balance Hanzo's strong men, and Hanzo made a comeback. If he really does sneak attacks all the time, we will be in big trouble." Now, Kaharu Udatain's words had no other meaning, just to illustrate a point. She didn't want Luhan to leave Konoha and let Luhan deal with Hanzo, because that would make it more troublesome. Luhan was on the front line, and Hanzo would always hide when he went. Hanzo is really shameless, Luhan said contemptuously. The superpowers are shameful. Do you see which superpowers would weaken the enemy's strength by repeatedly attacking small groups of enemies? Can't do this. Because there are superpowers on both sides. You can do this, so can I. We all go to kill the weak. You kill my team, I will kill your team. Who can benefit? Not only will the two sides not benefit, but a lot of people will die. Hanzo will stop, Hyuga Huyang said. He should understand that what he can do, we can also do it. Hanzo won't be so extreme. After all, we Konoha are at a disadvantage now, and their Omegakure and Sunagakure have the active advantage. It's not when the fish dies and the net breaks. But we can't just pretend that nothing happened. Uchiha Lei-young followed, glancing at Hyuga Huyong. I think we should make a statement to let Omegakure and Sunagakure understand that my Konoha is not unavailable. I agree. Homura Mitokado snapped. Let White Fang go. Kaharu Udatane agreed, and then looked at Luhan again. Let White Fang go to the Land of Rain and take the initiative to show up. Hanzo will definitely stop immediately. Luhan didn't reply immediately, because he didn't need it. The military orders were all discussed at the end of the meeting before they were issued. How's the Iwagakure mission? Luhan asked. Stayed in the house we arranged and didn't wander around. White Fang answered. Iwagakure has yet to give us an answer. Speaking of this, Kaharu Udatane's face turned bad. In the Omegakure battlefield, we, Konoha, took most of the pressure to reduce their losses. Now let them send troops, and they will grind to a halt. It's really ungrateful to linger. The problem is with the Kumogakure. They are afraid of the Kumogakure. They are afraid that after the troops are sent, the Kumogakure will take advantage of it. Homura Mitokado said, meaning. Lord Hengguang, I don't know, how is the connection with Kumogakure? Kaharu Udatane took the opportunity to ask. No one in Konoha knew that Luhan sent Tsunade and the three to Kumogakure. The Tsunade left in the name of supporting the Land of Rain. However, Luhan said at the meeting a few days ago that he had sent people to Kumogakure and Kaharu. Udatane believes that Luhan sent Anbu ninjas there. I haven't replied yet. Luhan shook his head, also a little worried. How long has Tsunade been gone, and why hasn't there been any news yet? Report. Anbu ninja's voice suddenly sounded outside the door. Sir Orochimaru is back. Oh, Luhan got up for a while and said, wait. After speaking, he disappeared into the conference room. Chapter 0726_Night Change. Even as Orochimaru, he cannot trespass into the conference room. Although he has prestige, he is still the strongest among the younger generation. Even Hatake Taishuo loses half a point, but his identity is too different. There are Anbu ninjas in high-level meetings. The guard, let alone him, even if Tsunade came back, he couldn't break into the door directly. Luhan appeared outside the door out of thin air and couldn't wait to ask. Kumogakure agreed to form an alliance. Yes. Orochimaru nodded. As cold as ever, the mission is already in the country of fire. Tsunade and Jiraiya are with them, and it is estimated that it will take another day to reach Konoha. Okay. Luhan was determined. To Orochimaru, Luhan pushed open the door and took Orochimaru into the conference room. After Luhan sat down, he smiled and said, 10 days ago, I dispatched Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru to secretly go to Kumogakure to discuss the alliance. After Luhan finished speaking, he raised his hand and gestured to Orochimaru. Orochimaru's face was still cold, and he really didn't give any face, but he said formally, after we reach Kumogakure village. The process is not complicated, that is, when they arrived at Kumogakure to talk about the alliance, Lao I did not reply immediately. After 5 days, Kumogakure discussed the results internally and agreed to form an alliance. But there are 3 painless conditions. When Orochimaru finished speaking, the audience was amazed. Kumogakure actually agreed. 3 generations of Hokage I actually agreed to form an alliance. Okay. Kaharu Udatane couldn't help but slap the table. With Kumogakure as an ally, our country of fire will be stable, and we will no longer be afraid of being invaded by foreign enemies. Konoha can also lift the current highest level of alert and mobilize more ninjas to go to the rain. If we can reach an alliance with Iwagakure village again, Iwagakure will send troops to the country of rain, and great things can be accomplished. Quote. The big thing that Kaharu Udatane said is naturally the end of this protracted ninja war. On this issue, Konoha has reached a consensus and a high degree of consensus, because Sarutobi Hiruzen had this idea before the disappearance, and the tone has long been set. After he finished speaking, Kaharu Udatane glanced at Luhan several times again, feeling a little admiration in his heart. It was negotiated. I don't know how Hengwang arranged it. What Sarutobi Hiruzen has not done for many years, Hengwang has done it, which is of great significance. Get ready, Lu Han ordered, set the alliance location at the back mountain, and I will wait for everyone to attend. From now on, limit the movements of the Iwagakure mission, send 3 times more personnel to monitor, and prevent them from discovering the Kumogakure mission. Come. A day later. Kaharu Udatane personally took people out of the village for 30 miles to greet the Kumogakure mission. After the Kumogakure mission reached Konoha, Luhan met Xiaoai and others in the Hokage building, and officially set the time for the alliance signing. Luhan confessed to Xiaoai that Konoha was negotiating an alliance with Iwagakure, and Xiaoai expressed his understanding. He can understand naturally, or he doesn't care that Konoha and Iwagakure are allied, because from Kumogakure's point of view, they have invaded the land and gained a lot of benefits. They are the victors. Unlike Iwagakure, they are losers, so I hate Kumogakure. Kumogakure, who was the victor, did not. And Kumogakure is already planning to recuperate. If Konoha can get Iwagakure to give up revenge, it will be a good thing for Kumogakure. The alliance ceremony will be held at noon the next day. After the negotiation, Xiaoai and the others will leave with the Konoha ninja who arranged the accommodation. Luhan immediately instructs White Fang again and again to let him make arrangements, and do not let Kumogakure and Iwagakure mission ninja meet. Night, the mansion in the forest. After dinner, Hyuga Luo Ning took Kushina out to play with fun, and went back to the place where the Hyuga family lived. He didn't even help Tsunade clean up the table. In the dimly lit lobby, only Lu Hanyu was left after returning for half a day. Tsunade. You can spoil her. She's so lazy, one big and one small, that she doesn't even pick up the tableware. Tsunade muttered to Luhan dissatisfiedly as he cleaned up the table. However, Luhan didn't seem to hear what Tsunade was saying. He tilted his head to look at Tsunade's beautiful figure under the lights, suddenly got up and hugged Tsunade from behind, his hands dishonestly lifting Tsunade's clothes. Oops, what are you doing? Hate, didn't take a shower. It's so fragrant, you don't need to wash it. Tsunade was ashamed of Yuhi, because she knew that the Anbu ninja who was in charge of secretly guarding was very close to the main building because she was not in the bedroom at night, and she was afraid of being heard. Go away. Knowing Tsunade's concerns, Luhan shouted to the outside, and impatiently pressed Tsunade to the ground. Tsunade seemed to be agitated by Luhan and became active and enthusiastic. Ashamed of Yuhi and hid in the dark clouds. Some obsession, the beauty of which is indescribable. After Luhan completed the human relations affairs on Tsunade, he still didn't know what to do, but Tsunade hummed and didn't want to. The space in the lobby was too bright, which made her feel uneasy. Go to the room, Tsunade begged softly, hugging Luhan's neck. Okay. Luhan laughed, hugged Tsunade horizontally, and before he got up to leave the wooden cave, he heard a loud report from the distance outside the door. Report. Iwagakure has sent messengers again and has entered the village. Understood. Luhan responded and went upstairs with Tsunade in his arms. Iwagakure is here again. It is estimated that a decision has been made. Whether Iwagakure agrees to form an alliance or not we'll see Akatsuki tomorrow. The new messenger will definitely go to Laozi to explain the situation. Luhan doesn't have to worry about it now. Until late at night. Luhan and Tsunade spent several times in the bedroom, until Tsunade begged for mercy, and Luhan stopped. Although he and Tsunade have been married for many years, they are already an old husband and wife, but Luhan's love for Tsunade has not diminished, but has become more obsessed. Tsunade doesn't get old, and as the years go by, Tsunade becomes more and more charming while still having a girly face. If only I could have a baby. Luhan stroked Tsunade's belly and said softly. Tsunade felt pain in his heart, turned over and hugged Luhan, and whispered in Luhan's ear, there will be. Report. The sound of a report suddenly sounded outside the window. The Iwagakure mission claimed that something had happened in the village of Iwagakure and that they wanted to leave Konoha. Lord Whitefang did not dare to detain him without authorization. Lord Hengguang, please make a decision. Luhan rolled over and sat up from the soft slump. Chapter 0727_Who will God forgive? What happened to Iwagakure? Luhan frowned, thought about it, tilted his head and said in a low voice, I'll come when I go. After saying that, he hand seal with one hand, performed continuous dressing technique, and then dressed neatly. Luhan flickered outside the main building and came to the Anbu ninja who was standing in the courtyard and bowed to report. What's the situation? Luhan asked. Just now, all the ninjas of the Iwagakure mission left the house where they lived and wanted to leave immediately. The Anbu ninja said respectfully. The Anbu ninja squadron in charge of guarding followed all the way until Captain Whitefang, who got the news, came and stopped him. I got them down and asked about the situation. Luhan has never given an order to detain the Iwagakure mission. It is not necessary at all. Even if Laozi suddenly says he wants to leave, Luhan will let him go. But to form an alliance. Because of this, the Anbu ninjas who are in charge of guarding and monitoring can only restrict the movement of the ninjas of the Iwagakure mission and prevent them from wandering in the Konoha village, but they cannot refuse their request to leave Konoha. As soon as he left, Luhan had no objection, but he suddenly left without saying goodbye, which made Luhan feel very strange. What happened to Iwagakure suddenly? They are in such a hurry. Luhan frowned. Anbu had no news at all. He opened the insight map. Luhan did not see any traces of Iwagakure ninjas. Iwagakure ninjas could only take fixed routes in Konoha village, and on these routes, Luhan did not see the gathering of orange dots. He must have left the village. At most, Whitefang asked about the situation and persuaded him to wait. It was impossible for him to forcibly intercept without an order. That was the intention of the attacking mission to seize it. If this kind of thing happened, it would affect Konoha's reputation. Whitefang, I can't take this responsibility. What exactly is going on here? Luhan couldn't figure it out. He shook his head and said, forget it, let them go and tell Whitefang to come back. Yes. Anbu ninja took the order and disappeared in place. Luhan turned around and walked towards the main building, thinking as he walked, his brows were always wrinkled. He already had a hunch that this alliance might not be possible. No matter whether Iwagakure really had a change or not, the sudden departure of the mission would put the negotiation on hold for the time being. Iwagakure doesn't want to fight Kumogakure, right? Luhan wanted to laugh when he thought of this. How dare he fight after repeated defeats? However, Onoki is a very stubborn person, so this is a real possibility. Konoha refused to attack Kumogakure with Iwagakure, and Iwagakure was unwilling to send troops to the Land of Rain, so naturally there was no need for an alliance. Not long after, outside the village of Konoha, in the dense forest in the northwest, Whitefang led people to follow the Iwagakure mission, and they walked all the way, with a taste of escort, but Whitefang has been persuading Laozi, hoping that Laozi can stay for the time being and go back to explain the situation to Hongguang. Laozi didn't say a word, with an expression of bitterness and hatred, as if something big had happened in Iwagakure village. An Anbu ninja appeared next to Whitefang and whispered in a low voice. Whitefang stopped and watched the Iwagakure mission leave, then waved and led them back to Konoha. Laozi took the people for a few kilometers, and he was relieved after confirming that the people from Konoha did not follow him, and they really left. Damn Konoha, actually allied with Kumogakure. The old purple bite Kiba muttered. The reason why he was in such a hurry to leave is because the Iwagakure ninja after night brought back the news of the secret alliance between Konoha and Kumogakure. Onoki told him to leave Konoha quickly to prevent any changes. If Luhan could know all of this, he would definitely cry out that he was wronged. There is no such thing as double-sided conspiracy and trickery. It is just an alliance. The hatred between you and Kumogakure has nothing to do with Konoha's half a cent. Full speed ahead. Laozi waved and shouted loudly, leave the country of fire as soon as possible, go. More than a dozen Iwagakure ninjas suddenly accelerated and ran towards the northwest of the fire country. Laozi didn't realize that a pair of treacherous eyes were staring at them secretly, and in front of the direction they were walking, a large group of ninjas were waiting for them. 30 kilometers northwest of Konoha village. Old Z led people to this forest in a hurry, and suddenly felt strong chakra fluctuations all around him at the same time. His face changed dramatically and shouted, "Be careful." Boom, boom, rumbling. There were flames, thunder flashed, and a group of black-clothed ninjas who suddenly appeared from both sides launched an intensive attack on the Iwagakure mission. The flames soon ignited a forest fire, with smoke billowing into the sky. "Damn Konoha, you are attacking the mission," Lao Zi growled. 8 kilometers to the southeast here, Jonin, an elite of the Hyuga clan who was leading the patrol, saw the attack on the Iwagakure team through Byakugan. Konoha village. Luhan and Tsunade just fell asleep when they heard an urgent report from outside. Lord Hengwang. The Iwagakure mission was attacked 20 miles northwest of the village. Luhan looked stunned for a moment, then jumped up and disappeared directly into the air. On the night of the full moon, the forest was devastated, the smell of blood was thick, and the trees were burning, and the beating firelight illuminated the face of the corpse extremely terrifying. Luhan appeared out of thin air. Battle was over. Although the forest was severely damaged, there were not many corpses, but only a dozen or so, including Kumogakure and black-robed ninjas who attacked them. Luhan's eyes swept away, and when he saw the message displayed on the head of the black-clothed ninja's body, his pupils contracted violently. Black Market. These black market ninjas are from the black market. 8 corpses of Iwagakure ninjas, 6 corpses of black market ninjas. There are no corpses of Lao Zi, and I don't know if Lao Zi escaped, or... Luhan thought of a terrible consequence. The 4 tails are on Lao Zi. Uchiha Madara, you framed me, I am your uncle. Luhan figured out the key, and the hated Kiba was itchy, as this fucking retribution. True to that sentence. Good and evil will be rewarded eventually, heavenly path is good reincarnation. If you don't believe me, look up, who the heavens have forgiven. At the beginning, Luhan pretended to be Kumogakure and attacked the Kurigakure mission, causing the Kurigakure mission to fight against the Kumogakure mission. Now, black market ninjas attacked the Iwagakure mission, and Iwagakure would definitely think that Konoha did it. Call. White Fang appeared out of thin air, and after he got the news, he rushed over. Why? White Fang was a little confused when he saw the corpses, but he could think that the Iwagakure mission was attacked, and Konoha was most likely responsible for this. It's the black market. Luhan bit Kiba and said. Chapter 0728 _ Those who achieve great things are not careful about the little things. Soon after Luhan and White Fang arrived, a large number of Konoha ninjas arrived at the scene, and Luhan ordered a carpet search. The search went on for a full hour. Except for the discovery of 2 more corpses, there was no other gain, and no trace of Lao Zi was found. This guy is a 4-tailed Jinchuriki column force. I am afraid I should be able to borrow the power of the 4 tails. If the power is rampant, the strength should not be underestimated. There is really no one in the black market who can subdue him. However, Luhan was still worried. Although it is impossible for Uchiha Madara to come in person, there is still a must. Returning to Konoha, Luhan found Jonin, the elite of the Hyuga clan who first discovered the attack on the Iwagakure mission, and asked, have you seen any special people, for example, half black and half white? Byakugan can see through, so as long as it enters Byakugan's field of vision, it will be seen. Hyuga elite Jonin wondered why Luhan asked, how can there be half black and half white people? Although he was puzzled, he still recalled it seriously. When he found out that the Iwagakure mission had been attacked, he immediately called someone back to inform him. Half black and half white. No, but, there is a guy with very white skin, who appeared twice and disappeared in a flash. White Zetsu. It was White Zetsu who came. It could be a clone or the main body, which made Luhan relieved. As long as it was not Ju, there was an 80% chance that Laozi would escape. Meeting. Lu Han asked White Fang to arrange a notification. After midnight, Lu Han held an emergency meeting in the third conference room. The end. There is no reason to discuss it, because this matter is not clean at all. The Iwagakure mission was attacked near the village of Konoha, or it happened after they left without saying goodbye. Yes, that would be hell. Lu Han has always been clear that the reason why the Ninja World War lasted so long and fought back and forth, Uchiha Madara has always been fueled by people behind, but Lu Han only heard about it before, and based on the content of the original book. This time he finally met in person. Pure fucking Ninja World stirrer. Now that I think about it, whether Kumogakure suddenly broke into the land without declaring the war, or Iwagakure abandoned the two-line combat arrangement and retreated from the Land of Rain, or the recent civil strife in Kurigakure, there may be absolutely no reason behind these events. Shadow. Add fuel to the flames, stir the wind and stir the rain. The more chaotic the ninja world, the better the black market business, and the greater the interests of Uchiha Madara. But now, Lu Han is determined to eradicate the black market, and it is quite effective, which affects the fundamental interests of Uchiha Madara, so he exerts his strength to pull the enemy to Konoha. Lu Han is depressed. There is no solution to this matter. Even if Lu Han took out the corpse of a black market ninja and found someone to identify it, even if Iwagakure thought it was really the corpse of a black market ninja, it would be useless. This cannot be used as direct evidence. Konoha is so powerful, why can't he find it? Iwagakure and Konoha have a complete break with each other, and it is already a sure thing. Lu Han had already thought that Iwagakure probably knew about the secret alliance between Konoha and Kumogakure, and told them absolutely, so the envoy would leave in a hurry. With this incident, Konoha and Iwagakure can no longer be saved. The atmosphere of the meeting gradually became depressing. Lu Han said that those black-clothed corpses were black market ninjas. No one doubted Konoha. Lu Han entered Sarutobi Hiruzen's field of vision with the technique of knowing people. No one would object to this ability. Now, Konoha executives believe that Lu Han is useless and is his own family. Uchiha Madara. Ah, Uchiha Madara, I lost a game, hee. I'll make you regret it. Lu Han thought, maybe he could rely on various calculations and arrangements to make some remedies, but Lu Han didn't plan to do that anymore. Trouble. Lu Han wants to cut the mess with a quick knife. There's not that much time to procrastinate on little things like this. It is difficult for us to clear the suspicion. Kaharu Udatane said after a long silence, Iwagakure village will turn against us, I am afraid. First strike is the strongest. Lu Han interrupted Kaharu Udatane's words. His face was extremely cold, and those who succeeded in major events were not careful. Lu Han was not the kind of person who blindly pursued integrity and justice. He's going to hit hard. With Onoki's temper, as soon as this matter comes out, he is likely to send troops to the country of rain to fight against us, Konoha, and even fight on two fronts. We can't give him a chance. Lu Han's eyes swept away. Cold said, I will send a letter to Raikage, the third generation, to prompt him to send troops and put pressure on the village of Iwagakure. Also, we will immediately spread rumors to let the world know that Iwagakure has secretly made a covenant with the black market and spread public opinion, saying, why didn't I keep the four-tailed Jinchuriki column force? I really want to stay. Who can escape? Although public opinion will not affect the general trend of the war, I, Konoha, still try not to bear the infamy of attacking the mission, so I questioned the village of Iwagakure on the basis that the four-tailed Jinchuriki column were not in our hands, saying that this was a plan they had arranged. Play. Lu Han made a simple arrangement and then announced the meeting. New day, noon. Konoha and Kumogakure held an alliance ceremony in front of the Hokage building, and officially signed the document. It was originally set at the back mountain, mainly to hide from Iwagakure, but there is no need to hide it now. This would make Konoha's alliance with Kumogakure more solid. And after the Konoha-Kumogakure alliance is informed to the world, it will also form enough deterrence. After the ceremony, Konoha held a grand banquet. Afterwards, Luhan had a separate conversation with Xiao Ai. He handed the letter to Xiao Ai and instructed Xiao Ai to hand it over to Ai after he went back, but Xiao Ai said, "I won't go back, I am here as a diplomatic envoy, to facilitate the cooperation between the two villages." Quote. Just looking for a reason, Luhan didn't expose it. Xiao Ai stayed, along with 8 guards, and the rest of the mission left. Someone took the first step, brought Luhan's handwritten letter, and quickly returned to Kumogakure. 3 days later, Lao Ai saw Luhan's handwritten letter in the morning, and decided to send troops in the afternoon. All the 3 main battle corps of Kumogakure rushed to the western border. It was on this day that Tsuchikage III made a public speech in the village of Iwagakure, officially declaring war on Konoha. Chapter 0729-Blitz. In his public speech, Tsuchikagenoki denounced the crimes of Konoha village, Sarutobi Hiruzen, and Hangwang, described Konoha as a vicious village full of executioners, said Sarutobi Hiruzen is the initiator of the Ninja World War, and said that Sarutobi Hiruzen was dead. In fact, Sarutobi Hiruzen was life or death no one knows, but Onoki wished Sarutobi Hiruzen was dead, naturally said so. And Hangwang was described by Onoki as a despicable, shameless, and trustworthy, unintentional villain. Onoki really used so many adjectives, because when he was speaking, he mentioned the 2 words cold light more than once, and every time he mentioned it, he would add derogatory adjectives in front, such as despicable cold light, two-faced. Cold light. Onoki also denounced Luhan for causing the Konoha ninja to attack the Iwagakure mission. This is especially important because it is the reason Onoki declared war on Konoha. Of course, declaring war is one thing, and whether or not to fight is another matter. There is also a country between the land of fire and the land of rain, so it is impossible for Iwagakure to fight. Onoki's declaration of war is more of an attitude. He stated that he is the enemy of Konoha. The enemies of Konoha, Sunagakure, Amegakure, and Kurigakure are all enemies of Konoha. The 5 major ninja villages plus Amegakure village, 4 of the 6 major forces are enemies of Konoha, and only Kumogakure and Konoha are united. Perhaps, Onoki hopes to start a bigger war by declaring war on Konoha, preferably in the land of fire. After Onoki's passionate and generous proclamation, the entire Iwagakure village boiled, and the flame of revenge had burned in the hearts of every Iwagakure ninja. Onoki stood on the high platform and looked at the nearly 10,000 ninjas on the huge square below. Emotionally. Send troops. Send troops. Vengeance. Eradicate Konoha. Send troops. Send troops. There was a tidal wave of shouts from the high platform, one wave after another. Okay. The short and extremely majestic Onoki snorted coldly and waved, "Send troops." Iwagakure 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Main Battle Corps, sent troops to the Land of Rain to assist Sunagakure Corps, Amegakure Corps Legion, destroy the Konoha bastards. In the afternoon of that day, Iwagakure's 2 major armies, nearly 7,000 people, set off to leave the village of Iwagakure and march into the Land of Rain. At the same time, Onoki also ordered the formation of an S-class special main battle unit, which would speed up its advance into the Land of Rain and conduct a blitzkrieg battle against the Konoha Corps. Onoki is trying to fight a time difference. He had already anticipated that once Konoha got the news, Kumogakure would definitely send troops. It takes time. It takes time for the information to reach Konoha village, right? How about 3 days? It will take 3 or 4 days for Konoha to send the news to Kumogakure, right? Kumogakure sent troops to the border, it also takes 2 days, right? Also, the country of thunder and the country of earth are not bordered, but separated by a sea. So even if the Kumogakure Legion reaches the border and invades the land of the earth, it will take another 3 or 4 days, right? In this way, it would be at least 10 days before the land was attacked. And Onoki is going to use these 10 days to catch the Konoha Legion in the Land of Rain by surprise. If it is arranged properly, it may be able to directly hit the major legions of Konoha. At that time, even if the Iwagakure Corps withdraws, the Sunagakure and Amegakure who already have the upper hand will be able to clean up the crippled Konoha Corps. This time, the country of the earth sent troops. It can be said that it came out in full force. There are fewer than 3,000 ninjas left behind in Iwagakure village. Iwagakure originally had 5 main battle corps, but because of the previous years of war with Kumogakure village, Iwagakure village killed 4 or 5,000 people, so Onoki cancelled the designation of the 2 legions and left the remaining soldiers of the 2 legions, all divided into the other 3 armies. 3 major corps sent troops to Amegakure village, and Iwagakure village left only the garrison corps, as well as special ninja troops such as Anbu, and the clan guards of the major tribes. 2 days later, the 3 major legions of Iwagakure have 1 day left to enter the Land of Rain. At the same time, nearly 8,000 ninjas from the 3 main battle armies of Kumogakure village arrived at the western border of the Land of Thunder and officially set up camp. Kumogakure are all taijutsu ninjas, so their speed is extremely fast, even if it is a corps action. If they march quickly, the speed can be twice that of other ninja village corps. Onoki wanted to play blitz, and Kumogakure was actually a blitz expert. The west coast of the Land of Thunder. Lao I stood on the beach, looking at the endless sea, looking at the sea horizon, and the war was raging in his eyes. On the opposite side of the sea, was the territory of the Land of Earth, a land that was much richer than the Land of Thunder. Of the 5 kingdoms of the ninja world, the most prosperous is the Kingdom of Fire, followed by the Kingdom of Water, then the Kingdom of Earth, the Kingdom of Thunder, and the Kingdom of Wind. This kind of richness not only refers to commerce, but also the scale of land, crops, mineral production, etc. Sha. An old man with half-white hair on his back, but his spirit flickering, walked behind I, looked in the direction that Lao I was looking at, and asked, "When are we going there?" "Wait first," Han Guang said that he has obtained secret information. Iwagakure may send troops to the country of rain to attack the Konoha Corps. If we act too early and are detected by Iwagakure, they will definitely send troops to fight us. It takes a lot of time to transmit information across the sea. Let's rest for a while. Lao I also has bad intentions. He hoped that Iwagakure would send troops to the country of rain. In this case, once the Iwagakure army was trapped in the country of rain and could not withdraw immediately, Lao I could send troops westward and attack the country of soil with all his strength. Whether it can occupy the territory or not, at least it can be looted, and the merchants who have been providing war funds to the land and the village of Iwagakure are all harvested like leeks. Konoha Legion in the Land of Rain will be defeated by this. Lao I thinks not, because there is a cold light. Another day. The Iwagakure Legion has officially reached the Earth-Rain frontier and is about to enter the Land of Rain. At the same time, the information about Onoki's declaration of war on Konoha village and Iwagakure village sending troops to the Land of Rain was also conveyed to Konoha village and Hangguang's hands. He. Lu Han sneered after reading the information. He has decided to hit Iwagakure hard. And Onoki gave him a chance. Chapter 0730 Who said I was going to the Land of Rain? Iwagakure actually dispatched 3 main battle corps at one time. Once these 3 corps entered the country of rain, plus the 3 Sunagakure corps, the Puppet Corps, the 3 Amegakure corps. A total of 10 corps, with a total of more than 20,000 troops. Ninjas, and we have only 9,000 ninjas. White Fang, who handed over the information to Lu Han, frowned and analyzed, with a very ugly face. In fact, he rarely expresses his opinion on such matters, but this time the problem is too serious. No one expected that Onoki could be so extreme. No, White Fang didn't wait for Lu Han to speak, then shook his head again. Iwagakure not afraid of Kumogakure waiting for an opportunity to invade. Of course he's afraid. Lu Han narrowed his eyes slightly, and his eyes flashed with light, so this time Iwagakure sent troops. He would definitely not fall too deep in the country of rain. It is estimated that Onoki was thinking of retreating with a single blow. Iwagakure 3 The big army only needs to appear on the frontal main battlefield once, and it can unite Sunagakure and Amegakure to give us a heavy blow. This. White Fang frowned deeper. Don't worry, the worst won't happen. Lu Han sneered. Oh, White Fang was shocked and looked at Lu Han. You want to? He didn't know what Lu Han had planned. Notify me of the meeting. Lu Han didn't say it directly. Not long after. Konoha Conference Room 3, more than 20 people attended the meeting, including Tsunade. I just received the information. Lu Han briefly explained the situation of Iwagakure. Damn it. Kaharu Udatane slapped the table and cursed. It's not our fault at all. It's a black market. Can't he see the problem with Onoki? Too. Kaharu Udatane was furious, as were the others. The situation in the Land of Rain deteriorated to ultimate immediately after Iwagakure dispatched troops. Behind the anger, there is powerlessness and fear. At its strongest, Konoha village didn't have 20,000 forbearance, let alone now. How big is the war in the Rain country? Even if Lu Han went in person, it would be useless. The battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain was a cloud of masters, and there was even a superpower like Hanzo. Retreat. Homura Mitokado said immediately, holding up his glasses. We retreat, the Legion withdraws from the Land of Rain, and temporarily abandons the northwest territory of the Land of Fire. Once we do this, Sunagakure, Amegakure, and Iwagakure will take advantage of the situation to enter. After all, however, at most it is a loot, and they will definitely retreat. The three forces of theirs are also in their own hands. They can't beat Konoha alone, so they unite together, but if Konoha retreats without fighting and comes up with a big piece of cake, they will definitely fight, and a fight will occur. In this way, their alliance I won't attack myself. Doing this will cause great losses to the Land of Fire and cause daimyo dissatisfaction, but we have preserved our strength and can make a comeback. In fact, we only need to persist until the Kumogakure Legion enters the Land of Earth, and Iwagakure will retreat. Homura Mitokado has always been steady, and he came up with the safest solution. He was right. The alliance between Sunagakure and Amegakure is extremely unstable. The whole world knows what virtue Hanzo is, and Iwagakure, who joined later, needless to say, and it is impossible to participate in the war for too long. But in doing so, the country of fire will suffer great losses, and it will also be a great blow to Konoha's prestige. What kind of bullshit is this? Uchiha Leiyang jumped up after hearing this, scolding Homura Mitokado, coward. So cowardly, we just surrender. Although the northwest of the Land of Fire is close to the Land of Rain, it was affected by the war. Not rich, but how can there be a reason to hand over to others? Homura Mitokado was annoyed by being sprayed, but was disdainful of Uchiha Leiyang. It's not right to do that, Kaharu Udatane interjected, stopping Uchiha Leiyang while also opposing Homura Mitokado, though she didn't speak ill of Homura Mitokado because she had a good personal relationship with him. We can't retreat. Hyuga Huyang also said, we haven't taken that step yet. The big deal is to retreat to the border first, wait and see Kumogakure's actions. But by doing this, we Konoha 9,000 ninjas will be in extreme danger. If we are not careful, we will suffer heavy casualties. Inuzuka said with tears in his face. What are you afraid of? Uchiha Leiyang was furious. He was the same age as Inuzuka Lei. Although his status was incomparable, he was very rude. We have ninjas in Konoha. He looked at Lu Han again and said, Lord Hengguang. Uchiha clan, I am willing to go to the front line and fight the enemy to the end. Quote. Uchiha Leiyang is invited to fight. The Uchiha tribe is the Konoha police force. Hundreds of ninjas are in Konoha. Because the Uchiha ninjas are extremely talented and have a very high average strength level, the combat power of these few hundred people is comparable to a small army of 1,500 people. Humph. Hyuga Huyang snorted coldly, glanced at Uchiha Leiyang, and said to Lu Han, the Hyuga family is willing to fight. If the Uchiha clan and the Hyuga clan can be merged together, even though there are only 600 or 700 people, their combat power is comparable to that of a large army. This is still without considering the older generation of the two races. Lu Han looked at Uchiha Leiyang, then at Hyuga Huyang, then raised his hand to signal them to relax. No need, in fact, I already have a solution to the current situation. Lu Han calmly said, his eyes swept away. I will leave Konoha for a while. During this period, the big and small affairs will be handled by Lord Kaharu and Lord Menyon. Lord Huyang and the three discussed and decided. If you still can't decide, you can refer to the opinion of Lord Inuzuka Tears. No, Kaharu Udatane immediately objected and said eagerly. In the current situation, even if you go to the land of rain, it won't help. Konoha needs you to take charge. I can't go. Tsunade also spoke, shaking his head at Lu Han. Even if Lord Hengguang makes a personal shot, he can't resist 20,000 ninjas. Sunagakure, Iwagakure, and Omegakure have many strong men, and there are also half-body Hanzo to contain them. I'm afraid. Hyuga Huyang shook his head after saying that. The implication was that it's useless for Lu Han to go, it's impossible for one person to break thousands of people. Because there are too many strong opponents, Hanzo plus a team of strong people is enough to contain Lu Han. Who said I'm going to the land of rain? Lu Han stood up, his voice heavy. I'm going to Iwagakure village. Chapter 0731_arrange. As soon as Lu Han finished speaking, the conference room became extremely quiet. Going to Iwagakure village. Again. This reminded everyone present that Lu Han defeated Kurigakure by himself. That battle gave Lu Han the reputation of #1 in the world, but is Iwagakure village the same as Kurigakure village? The smashed Kurigakure village has experienced 2 civil strife, few strong people, and Boiling Rain was killed by a sneak attack. Can Iwagakure village? The danger level of Iwagakure village is by no means smaller than that of Konoha village. There are many older generation powerhouses, major special forces, and Tsuchikajinoki, the 3rd generation of the strongest powerhouse. Just one Onoki is enough to restrain Lu Han. Are you going to die? Lu Han saw everyone's faces in his eyes, and without waiting for them to object, he immediately said, also, I'm not going alone this time. In addition to taking a few people away in Konoha, I will also contact Kumogakure. Quote. Lu Han revealed his bold plans and the whole story. Then he ordered. The White Fang obeyed the order and ordered you to go to the land of rain as soon as possible after the meeting, and passed my order that all ninjas belonging to Konoha should retreat to the southeastern border of the land of rain, and then lead people to attack the logistics transportation routes of Sunagakure and Omegakure. To create as much chaos as possible. Tsunade obeys orders. Order you to bring Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and other members of the S Division who stayed behind in Konoha, and rush to the land of rain after the meeting to assist the White Fang in the fight, while preventing the Sunagakure Corps from using poison. Hyuga Heian listened to the order and ordered you to take the Hyuga Independent Scout troops to the country of rain, investigate the retreat route, and ensure that the major Konoha legions retreat to the border safely. After Lu Han issued the order, he disregarded the objections of a few people and announced the meeting was dismissed. In the empty corridor, Tsunade caught up with Lu Han who was rushing along. Han, stop, Tsunade fumed. Lu Han knew that Tsunade was worried about himself, because there was nothing more dangerous than going to the 5 great ninja villages. This was not the first time that Lu Han had tried his life. Many times before, Tsunade didn't know what Lu Han was doing. Only this time, she went from everything is clear inside and out. Lu Han hugged Tsunade without saying a word, just kept holding him. Tsunade isn't the type to be extremely headstrong, and she doesn't cry and make trouble when she disagrees. And this time, Lu Han not only put himself in danger, but also put Tsunade in danger, which made Tsunade much better, and would not make her feel powerless when her husband went out to work hard and she couldn't do anything. Will it be safe? Tsunade asked. Yes. Be sure to come back safely. You too. Tsunade went to prepare. He had to go to Jiraiya and Orochimaru first, and then go to the S department to convey the order. There are not many ninjas in the S department, but they also have a squadron size, and when Hatake Taishuo left, he only took a squad with him, and also more than 10 people remain. This is a group of very powerful young people. Lu Han put them by Tsunade's side. He also has selfish intentions. He hopes that when he really encounters irresistible danger, Tsunade can survive under the protection of others. With them around, Tsunade will be very safe, even if he encounters Hanzo, as long as he doesn't get besieged by the Legion. Another half-day passed. Tsunade, White Fang, Hyuga Haeyoung, etc. have all set off. Lu Han is at home with Hyuga Luo Ning, who is heartless and doesn't know anything. After passing him, let Lu Han drive away on the grounds of an upcoming mission. Call. Chakra fluctuations suddenly came from outside the door, and then a respectful voice sounded, "Teacher, I'm back." It's Hotake Tai Shuo. He is back. As early as the day he officially formed an alliance with Kumogakure, Lu Han sent someone to the country of Wind to find him and let him come back. At that time, Lu Han realized that Iwagakure might have made a move, so he asked Hotake Tai Shuo to come back to be prepared and let him come with him. A mission is a decision made later. Be good. Lu Han took Hyuga Luo Ning's hand and smiled. Cut, I'm not a little girl. Hyuga Luo Ning wrinkled her nose in dissatisfaction. Lu Han smiled and appeared outside the door. He tilted his head to Hotake Tai Shuo and said, "Let's go." After a while, Lu Han and the other three secretly left Konoha village. Hotake Tai Shuo, Lu Han also brought Might Dai. All three have an obvious feature, that is, they are fast. At the same time, the northern part of the Rain Country. The daring Hanzo of Yigao brought only one person into the camp of the Iwagakure Corps. The person he brought was not an Omegakure ninja, but a Sunagakure Chiyo. War is like this, there are no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. Although Iwagakure fought with Sunagakure and Omegakure before, each with casualties, but at this time, Hanzo and Chiyo took the initiative to enter the Iwagakure camp, hoping that the two sides could let go of the estrangement. As early as 3 days ago, on the day Iwagakure dispatched troops, Onoki sent someone to deliver the letter first, so Hanzo and Chiyo were well prepared. Hanzo, Chiyo, and the commander-in-chief of the 3 generations of Iwagakure Corps, the 3 of them discussed closely in the Iwagakure Corps camp for a long time before they came up with a unified battle plan. After just 2 days, the 3 major armies of Iwagakure landed on the main battlefield and participated in a large-scale war. And White Fang and others also arrived in the Land of Rain. Konoha's army began to fight and retreat. Tsunade came up with a plan to retaliate with his own way, using poison on the sand, rain, and rock allied forces. On the west coast of the Land of Thunder, a 10-mile company. In the handsome tent, there is a strong atmosphere of war. The ninjas, old or young, are all sitting with big horses and golden swords. Not long ago, Lao Ai got the information from Iwagakure village and learned about the main battle in Iwagakure village. The Legion's all-out affair. Ha 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 ha, God is up to me. Our opportunity is here. Lao Ai laughed. Hengwang's information is very accurate. Only the garrison army is left in Iwagakure village. It's our turn to take action. Okay, Lord Rakage, I would like to lead the team to be the vanguard. The strong Iwagakure called for his order. This time we should fight a blitzkrieg and push as far as possible into the hinterland of the land. We do not seek to occupy land, but only for money. If you can win the important town in the southeast of the land of the earth, then you can. All the Kumogakure ninjas are sharpening their knives, and there are many who want to be pioneers. At this time, call. A whirlwind rolled up around Lao Ai, and Lu Han, dressed in a black robe, appeared out of thin air. Chapter 0732_Crazy Plan. There was some confusion in the handsome tent. Who? Be careful. Lord Rakage, be careful. Lu Han came too suddenly and didn't say hello, causing the Iwagakure ninjas present to almost start. But Lao Ai didn't move, because when the whirlwind appeared, he felt Lu Han's breath and knew who was coming. Although he was surprised, he would not have an overreaction. This is Mr. Hengwang from Konoha, don't be nervous. Lao Ai reminded him, raised his hand again, and motioned for the strong Kumogakure who had stood up to sit down. All the Kumogakure ninjas knew that it was the legendary Konoha cold light coming, and many of them showed awe. This is the most powerful person who can tie with the third generation of Reikage. Although they also have the name of the strong, they are much worse. I'm here to disturb you. Because there were other people around, Luhan's etiquette was in place, and he was relieved. Arrived just in time. Fortunately, Kumogakure has not yet entered the land of the land. If they have already left, they should be on the sea at this time. There are pioneers, the middle army, and the rear army. They must go separately. In the vast sea, Luhan wants to find Lao Ai. Very troublesome. Lao Ai looked at Luhan and couldn't help but feel weird. What is Han Guang doing at this time? Aren't you worried about the situation in the land of rain? Lao Ai didn't ask directly, but glanced at the other Kumogakure ninjas in the camp and said, "Go ahead and prepare, and I will make detailed arrangements later." Yes, Lord Reikage. All the Kumogakure ninjas got up and complied, and then they all left the camp. I have already received information about the situation in Iwagakure village. Lao Ai spoke first. I am going to move my troops westward and cross the sea to attack the land of the land. When Iwagakure village receives the information, I will definitely retreat. Danger. Quote. As an ally of Konoha, it is Kumogakure's duty to solve problems for Konoha. Lao Ai was talking to Luhan purely in the tone of a diplomatic negotiation. Well, good. Luhan nodded and said again, I knew you would do this, so I came here in a hurry.